And good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I would be Glenn. Griffin is here, and it's Friday. That means Stan the Fan Charles, the Chief Grand Poobah here at PressBox, has joined us in studio. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. I'm just looking at this. I know we've got, not to steal your thunder, but I know we've got Kyle Gibson.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us where the Lamar meter should be today, Stan, while you're... Oh, wait, never mind. I guess we don't do that anymore.
But we also have Neil Walker on.
Yes, Neil Walker.
Both of them have, I don't know if Neil is active in his participation.
He was also involved in
Big
Big League.
Yeah.
That's very cool. It's very good. It seems like a wonderful
Yes.
thing that we're going to do. Yeah, today on the show.
Now let me introduce Glenn Clark.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
John Pardo, thank you.
Yeah, we've got a great day ahead of us on the program today. As Kyle Gibson will join us, of course, Orioles pitcher. We'll talk. We definitely are going to let him talk about what he's doing Big League Impact. Obviously, we're going to talk about the fact that the Orioles all of a sudden have the Jim Palmer, Dave McNally, Mike Cuellar, Pat Dobson pitching staff. I have no idea where that came from. Remember last week we're in here talking about how concerned we were about Orioles pitching, and all of a sudden 1 week later, the starting pitching is brilliant.
I'll tell you who's worried about starting pitching right now is the most unlikely person at the beginning, let's say beginning of February. If you would have picked one manager, who would it have been that wouldn't have been worried about
the starting piting? Oh, God.
His initials are BS.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. But all of a sudden, you know.
He went. Where that game by Verlander came out of 2 days ago, that was manna from heaven, but they reverted right back.
Yeah.
And here he is, folks. Glenn Clark.
Thank you, Stan. He's on fire today. Hey, did you get your powdered donut today?
I must have they didn't put the decaf in here.
That must be it. Yes, Kyle Gibson's going to join us this morning. Also this morning, we will preview the Pirates. No whistles allowed this weekend at the ballpark. I think we've gotten that taken care of. We've banned Sister Sledge for the weekend. That's the way that it goes. And you can get down to the ballpark and enjoy your bird bath if you'd like. But Neil Walker, the former Pirate, now an analyst for them, is going to join us, and we will preview one of the more surprising teams. I think the Orioles are a surprise. I would argue the Pirates far more significantly a surprise in baseball this season. So we will preview that, and we'll make our trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox this week. We meet Billy Cook, so that's all on the way on the program today. Today's show is brought to you by A.J. Michaels, expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels. Heating, AC, plumbing, and home performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is here. It's here. It's now.
It comes fast in Baltimore.
And we have this really weird bit where we go from winter, and we're like, is it spring now? And they're like, no, we're going to go right back for a second. And then we get 2 days of spring, and then boom, summer. Devil's taint. That's where it goes immediately. So it is AC season. New rebates and discounts are available. Find out more, ajmichaels.com.
My brother, that's his season all year long.
Because
AC. Alan Charles.
Oh, got it. That's on me. I thought you meant Al Cal.
Very valid. Major point I made.
I thought you were telling me that your brother was the guy that drove OJ in the Bronco all those years ago. I was like, wow, I had no idea that you were related to Al Cal.
That was a different age.
No idea. We have a lot to get to, as I mentioned on the program. Also this morning, Griffin, you can show everybody later on. Stan said he was good. But it took Twitter by storm yesterday. Of course, everybody did their schedule unveiling videos, some of which were phenomenal. The Chargers did a bit where they did all of their opponents as Pop-Tarts. And the one they did for the Ravens, of course, was just a brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart smothered in Old Bay.
Can I see that container of Old Bay?
Yes.
I need to look at it.
You're going to dump it in your mouth?
You're going to snort it?
Yeah.
The sodium is 1/4 teaspoon is 140 milligrams.
Not great.
It's not horrible.
Only 340 milligrams in the Pop-Tart.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
The key thing is that when you talk about smothering,
yes,
I'm thinking they're talking about 1,000 milligrams, smothered.
Oh.
So I wouldn't be an accurate gauge of tasting it smothered. You, my friend, much younger, healthier.
Well,
I think you could do 1,500 milligrams.
I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't think I want to do that. But we are going to try the Old Bay Pop-Tarts. They're not selling them. We're just going to recreate the Old Bay Pop-Tarts.
This could be like a new. This could be like a new concession at Oriole Park.
You know what's funny? Everybody on Twitter said, "I'd try those."
Yeah.
I don't know that you'd need him again, though. I think it's more like I try it and then I'm good from there. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of things that we put Old Bay on in this area that other people simply do not or don't understand, and that's all well and good. But, like, for example, I've had, like, the Old Bay popcorn. I've never found myself saying, I really need those Old Bay popcorn.
Right.
Now, the Old Bay goldfish, delicious, unbelievable, an outstanding snack.
Really?
The Old Bay cheese curls I stand by as maybe one of the greatest snacks of all time. They're
Great invention.
They are unbelievable. But I don't, some of the other things that
Would
we've
it
tried.
be up there with like the telephone, the invention?
I would say
of the
better.
telephone?
I would say
than the
better.
telephone.
Who needs a telephone, Stan? What do we have the internet. We don't.
Right, that's true.
What the hell are we doing?
And we've got cell phones now,
Correct.
so who needs the old-fashioned
All
telephone?
we use telephones for anymore is looking at pornography. My God, that's where we are. Anyway, yes, we will try those at some point as the schedule did come out. So let me start there. Just spend a minute on the schedule because the Orioles didn't play last night. Then we'll get into the Orioles this hour. The thing that jumped out to me about the schedule is, as somebody who does post-game shows, I love a bunch of 1 o'clock games.
Yeah.
That's great news for me. I love, particularly that the home games for the people that are going are all largely at normal times. Like, that to me is a big, big thumbs up about the Ravens schedule. I don't love Christmas night in San Francisco. Now, I don't have
That means that game will be like 8:30.
8:30,
time?
yes, correct.
Okay.
But I don't have to go, so it's not that big of a deal for
Right,
me anymore.
right.
Like, and honestly, it's better if you're gonna play on Christmas. How does your family? Are you a Christmas and Hanukkah family, or are you one or the other?
We're not a Christmas.
don't-
We're like, first of all, the family is me and Jane. So
Right.
it's not like I got 6 kids.
But you have a
that
ton
I'm
of. You have about 1,000 cousins. I don't know who you get together with.
I don't get together with my cousins
Okay.
on Christmas or Hanukkah.
Okay.
Really.
So it's not.
We're
for-
lone wolves.
So this isn't
we're
gonna. It doesn't
outliers.
impact you in much of a way
No.
either.
No.
For me, because I've got a bigger family, it would be inconvenient if they were playing in the 1 o'clock game on Christmas.
No question about it.
That would be an
that would be
inconvenience.
terrible.
For us, we're kind of wrapped up with everything. My wife is already taking down the decorations by about
By
5
o'clock. Right.
on Christmas Day. She is already, like, I look over, I'm like, really?
And there's the Easter Bunny.
Right, yeah, she's already ready. Like, what are we doing here? It's 5 o'clock on the 25th.
Right.
So it's not that big of a deal to me that they're playing at 8:30 on Christmas. I know for other people, they do their Christmas gathering at night, so it probably is a bit annoying to them.
Now, will you have a show, you think, that
I
night?
presume
Yeah.
we will. I mean, I presume
be
we'll
great.
do it. But, I mean, it'll be at 11:30 or whatever
Right.
it is. Like, the day will have been long done by that
Yeah.
point. So I'm not that worried. Didn't they play on Christmas once before? They didn't. One of those
They
Steelers
played, the
heartbreaking
Steelers.
games
Yeah,
was on
Antonio
Christmas,
Brown.
wasn't it?
and
Yeah,
yes,
that was that.
yes,
The
that
Immaculate
was-
Extension.
I remember I got a TV that year for Christmas, so I
Ah.
set it up, and we were watching the game on my TV in my room, and it was like, well, this is the
Yeah,
great to
right?
christen my
And
TV
you
with
didn't-
this.
You didn't throw it through the window. did you?
Yeah.
We're also playing on Thanksgiving.
No,
Day.
not playing on Thanksgiving.
We're not playing.
Not playing on Thanksgiving.
I
They're
thought I'd
playing.
heard that
They
we're
have.
playing.
They have a Sunday night game Thanksgiving week. That's
And
the,
we're in that.
Yes.
Okay.
They play
so
Thursday
We
before
play who?
Thanksgiving.
That Cincinnati?
That's Jacksonville. Oh,
Jacksonville.
I'm looking at it right. The Chargers is
the
that's-
Sunday night?
Yeah, Sunday night
So
at Chargers.
then what's the Jacksonville game? That's on the road.
Yeah, that
God,
is
I
also on the
you
road.
know what? This
yeah,
is
Sunday
on-
night as well.
Is that a Thursday night?
No, Sunday night as well.
Okay.
They're at Chargers at Jacksonville week 15. That's the 17th. My aunt's birthday, December
Okay.
17th.
There you go. Very important. I think that's the reason why they did
Yeah.
it. There's a lot of travel. But we knew that going in. We knew that before they announced when the games are going to be. We knew the Ravens,
Yeah, going to Arizona,
Yes.
San Francisco.
Los Angeles,
They're at Jacksonville,
London.
at San
Yep.
Francisco, back-to-back weeks.
There's a lot of travel. Now, that's
It's interesting the Ravens have never been compelled to give up a home game, correct? On that the whole London thing?
it's
This
in-
is only our second
it's
game.
only the second one, and they've both been road
road
games. They've been able
and
to
one
protect their home games.
Jacksonville was playing all
Right.
they play like 3 games
This
in
year. They're,
London.
yeah,
They're playing two
Mhm.
back-to-back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have
Yeah.
no idea how that's worked out. I think the funny thing is everybody wants those games because you need to try to find new markets and
Right.
new revenue streams. So it is interesting that the Ravens' only 2 trips have not been home games. That is interesting. I'm not the guy. I don't look at the schedule and say win-win. I'll never do any of that.
Can
I'll
you
do it.
explain to our audience and to me
Mm-hmm.
the new flexing rules and how that, in other words, how secure are the Ravens? And when you said They've got all these 1 o'clock games. That those
Well, the
games
beginning of the season is when you want to have the 1 o'clock game scheduled because they don't flex anything in the beginning of the season. So when you see Texans, Bengals, Colts, Browns, Steelers, the first 5 games of the season are all 1 o'clock games. They're all 1 o'clock games. They will not
starts
be
at
moved.
like week 8 to.
I want to say it's week
5 this year is what it's
5 to
yeah,
11
so 5
or
to
something?
10
Wow.
they can do 2 flexes apparently
Okay.
for Sunday night
all right,
football.
so
For
the-
Sunday night football.
So then the
And
Steelers game.
Those
could
are
be-
network ones. Then after week 11 or 10, it's the league decides which game
Correct.
can be
game will be
flexed.
when.
Correct.
Exactly right.
And I would assume that they wouldn't allow a team to be flexed a home game more than once. I would assume.
I don't
That would
know.
be hard
Mm.
to justify.
it would be hard to justify.
But I
Yeah.
think they
I don't
might have
think the league
changed
might not
that
care, yeah.
to say that we're kind of don't care anymore,
Okay.
and that the league is based on television, and that's the way
Right.
that it's going to go. Television makes the rules, and you
Right.
guys remember they were thinking about doing Thursday night flexes this year. They didn't get that in, but
Right.
that was one of the things they had
That's a
discussed.
coming.
Oh, at some
Yeah.
point they're going to say we don't care.
And they'll let you know
After-
on Wednesday.
Correct. Yeah.
By the way,
yeah.
you,
Get here
you
tomorrow.
played Sunday.
Right.
Show up in Jacksonville tomorrow.
They'll definitely have
And the
it.
Jags are
But-
coming off their bye.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck.
After week 12 Monday night and like Sunday night can be flexed.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
new this year.
After
That
week
Monday
12,
night,
Monday night
can now be flexed, which is over the top. But I'm telling you, the Thursday night thing is going to come as
Yeah.
well, and it will be even more over the top than that. Look, the NFL has decided that TV is king. That's just the way that it goes, and that's where they get the bulk of their money. And
It's interesting though to look at how the league now has, and this is I can't remember quite one team like the Lions, who have still never even been in a Super Bowl, have no mass following of any kind, but they've kind of bet on them this year, and that's where the flex has become important. If they bet wrong on the Jets
correct.
or the Lions, those games they're going to want to pull them out.
Yeah, they don't want
100%.
to have a Broncos thing like last year.
Yeah, they had to.
Right.
It was terrible.
Right, they went
that's
all
what
in on
they're-
Russell Wilson, and then it was a joke, and they had a bunch of Russell Wilson games scheduled, and that's not going to work. Yeah, then look, I understand, because also how many times have we gotten mad when we sit down, I get to sit down and watch a football game tonight, and then you're reminded it's, too
Washington,
terrible.
Chicago.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Which is a Thursday night game.
They
this
do
year.
have that scheduled for a Thursday night game this year. There are 4 teams that didn't have a primetime game even scheduled for this year. Not even a single primetime game on the schedule. 4 teams. I thought the deal was that everybody had to
gets
have.
one.
But when they changed it so that you could have multiple Thursday night games now, apparently they also changed it so that not everybody has to have one.
That's kind of reminds me of the Mike Tyson old adage: everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the
mouth.
face.
Yeah.
They have a plan until they go, did we really
Yeah,
want
right.
this
Are we
team to-"
really gonna? Are we really? Yes. The Colts have no primetime game scheduled. The Falcons have no primetime game scheduled. The Texans have no primetime game scheduled, and the Cardinals have no primetime.
That's really
game.
not surprising.
the-
to me.
Yeah,
honest-
if you were to guess if I were to tell you what 4 teams don't have a primetime game scheduled, you'd probably
I
say
probably could have guessed them. I might have guessed the Bears.
Washington maybe
but
would have
that's
been.
a big, huge
Still
market.
with Kyler Murray, I'm surprised by the Cardinals.
I'm
I
not.
mean, I got obviously they
Well,
were
he's also
very
coming off
bad.
an injury,
Yeah.
and and then
He's-
add in. I would say the more surprising part is the 2 rookie quarterbacks.
Right, exactly.
Right?
I mean,
Like
honestly,
that-
the Falcons not surprised at all.
no, they don't have a quarterback. Like they don't have one.
I think Kyle Murray should make his life's mission to save the Oakland A's.
Okay, by
from
coming back
switching,
to
by
baseball.
going back.
Say, hey, I'm going to
Okay.
announce I want to play only for the Oakland A's.
How about that? Yeah, if you move, then I
Yeah,
won't do it.
I'm not going to
Right.
do it.
That is a
I'm going to
fascinating
go play
thought.
for the Diamondbacks.
Well, wait a second. I wonder if that. I wonder if that would change anything at this point,
No.
Stan. I don't think it would.
Well, I've talked to you about getting Andy Dolich on,
Yes.
and we're going to try next Friday.
Okay.
He and I forget the co-author. They've written a book that I don't think they intended it to come this fast. It was released like March 25th, and the title is Goodbye Oakland.
Well,
and
it's what it is.
It sure looks that way.
It's what it is.
But isn't it fascinating now the A's have now purchased 2 sites? They've purchased
Because they had already purchased the. Yeah.
They purchased one about 2
Yeah.
weeks ago,
Yeah.
and now they've said that plan may not. So they've
Right.
done a deal, and apparently they can get out of the first deal.
Okay.
You know,
I don't know. I don't really have a ton of thoughts about that, but
I feel really bad for the real baseball fans of Oakland.
Sure,
because I think Oakland is a terrific baseball town.
I think it can be.
And
I think there's no question about
they've had a horrible owner.
Yep, I think that's the case. All right, I don't really have a whole lot more to say about the schedule. I know, as John from Little Rock brings up, yes, the bye week comes a little bit later. It is weird now that teams are not doing their bye week after their London trip. That was always sort of baked into the deal. I don't know why that became a thing that you don't do the bye week after the London trip. But
so who do we play?
That's
who do we play and where before the London trip and then after
they're at Pittsburgh the Sunday before London.
They're at Cleveland, then at Pittsburgh, then they're at London.
Right, so it's 3 weeks they'll be away from home consecutively. At
Yeah.
Cleveland, at Pittsburgh, then London.
And
then
then
they
they
come
come
home
back.
and play the Lions.
Okay.
And then they don't have a bye, so they do the London thing, come home, then they're at Arizona the following week, then they're back at home for 3 straight games, which is another thing you just don't see very frequently on a schedule is 3 consecutive home games. Then at LA, they don't have their bye until week
13.
Yes, correct.
After the trip to LA.
Yeah.
So
I much prefer that by like week 8,
yes,
7 or 8.
their bye is in December.
Yeah.
Until December.
It helps potentially the playoff push.
Potentially, right. If you can, use that week to reset late in the year. Look, I don't love early buys. I don't love a week 5 buy. That's
too early.
Entirely
I
too
like
early.
7, 8, 9.
Correct.
Something like
Right.
Good
that-
news
is that Lion game a 1 o'clock game?
It is a 1. Well, right now it's a 1
right.
o'clock game.
That would seem like a prime game to be potentially.
If the
flexed.
Lions are what?
If the Lions are good,
Right.
and if Lamar doesn't
Yes.
leave the team.
Well, I don't think he's going to leave the team, but
Well,
he
I
might.
think like week 13 is typically when Lamar has gotten hurt, right? The last 2 years.
So they're
that's-
trying to buy in the week
they're-
to get him. Is that what it is?
The other big takeaway, obviously, the Ravens only have 1 home preseason game.
Right. I know you're very worked up about
It's
that
the
as
first
someone
one,
who still
so-
pays attention to preseason games because.
By the way, I
have
had
to get
somebody
reasons.
last night. I was eating dinner at the Costas Inn with
Yes.
some good friends. Saw my friend Steve Jeppy there. But I was taking Steve Freeman, who worked for the Orioles for a number of years. We went out to dinner, and an original investor in PressBox, Barry Blank, and we're sitting there, and somebody came up to me. Oh, it was my waiter, Chuck, at the Costas Inn. He says, "I'm making a prediction now," and I go, "Okay." He goes, "This Zay Flowers, if he's really, really good, the Ravens are going to start singing, 'Oh, Zay, can you see?'"
That's an interesting idea. I was thinking
thought that was a cute
I thought you
idea.
were going to go with Jose, 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 Jose. And I don't mind that one so much. That one I'm in on.
I didn't do it justice.
Yeah,
but
right.
Jose,
It's not
Jose.
bad. It's not bad. All right, the schedule's out. You can go find it, and Bo's written more about it at PressBoxOnline.com today, so you can check it out there. As I was joking about, is today's show is also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Just 1 week ago, Stan, we were panicked. We were flummoxed about Orioles pitching. We were ready to trade for Eduardo Rodriguez and Alex Cobb, and everybody still wants Corbin Burns, and the list goes on. Now, all of a sudden, Orioles pitching over the course of the last week against the 2 best teams in baseball has been quite good. So how do we react to that?
Well, I still think the team is in need of a number 1, a true number 1. I kind of call Kyle Gibson, I don't mean this with disrespect, sort of a designated one.
Yes.
You know.
Right, he's not an ace.
He's
just
not like Mike Mussina was for the Orioles for a number of years, or Garrett Cole is now, or Roger Clemens in their heyday. But I still think they need a 1. But I was not all that panicked by Dean Kramer and Kyle Bradish, And Tyler Wells has been steadfast. The most disappointing arm to me this year has been Cole Irvin.
Well, there's no doubt about that, right?
I thought it was a real good chance to win 12 or 13 games with the Orioles.
But
this year.
do you feel as though this is the stabilizing moment and that you have comfort that if this is, again, I agree with you that they should be looking to add a top-of-the-rotation arm, but as we know, it's not that guy is not going to come until at the earliest
June 30th.
Correct.
Yeah, it's somewhere in between July 1st. And,
so presuming this is what they have until at least then,
yeah.
do you feel comfort that they are going to be just fine with their starting pitching until that point.
I think if they can get Grayson turned around to where he pitches like he did this last effort against Tampa or the 2 efforts before against Detroit, I would feel pretty comfortable that we can maintain our position, jockeying with the likes of Boston and Toronto. And frankly, I think clearly the worst team in the division.
Yeah.
I don't think those words have ever been uttered by me, are the New York Yankees. And don't we feel sorry
just
for them?
wretched. Just awful for those guys. Well, they think in New York, they think the Rays are cheating, though. I don't know if you saw that this week.
No.
They think whoever the
Well, of course they are.
Who's the it's Craig Carton's the guy, the loudmouth on FAN, who's like, I don't believe it.
Is he the guy who used to do the show with Boomer?
Yes, he was the guy that used to do the show with Boomer and had a bit of a gambling problem and had to spend some time locked up afterwards. So,
Shocked that hasn't happened to Jeremy Kahn.
No, Jeremy doesn't have a problem.
Jeremy has
Right.
the problem is that
He
they
wins
didn't
too
have
much.
legal
Yeah,
betting
right.
for
Earlier,
years. when he could have made
100%.
He's in the Caymans, isn't he, making depots?
I think that might have been why he was down in Jamaica earlier, right? Like it might have
It's a
been.
hop, skip, and a jump.
100%. So, I'm in a weird place. One, they still have to address the Grayson innings thing at some point.
Yeah.
There still has to be something that they do. I had wondered if maybe the appearance of Drew Rahm was like, hey, let's think about whether or not we want to skip a start at some point. Well, they sent him back down, so obviously that's not the case. At some point, they still have to address the innings thing when it comes to Grayson Rodriguez somehow, some way, and we've yet to see anything that suggests that that's a priority for them. I am quite pleased with, obviously, how they pitched this week. I'm not sure that I just assume this is who they are moving forward, but, I hope that's the case. I think the other question that's popped up over the course of the last week is there a possibility that you're going to end up having a controversy at the back end of your bullpen here in the next couple of weeks? Yennier Cano has been unbelievable. I mean, one of the biggest revelations in all of baseball this season.
I wish I could have a tape recording of my audio last September.
When they traded for you?
No, when Tim Tremblay was in town.
Okay.
And we went to a game, and he goes, "Who's this guy coming in?" I said, "Hey, he was just throw-in the Twins deal. I mean, he had like a 9 ERA in 7 with the Twins. He's garbage." That's essentially what the audio would reveal.
Right.
I said. I erased all audio.
Yes, make sure that it's burnt, correct, so that nobody can ever see it.
He's been remarkable.
Where are you at with the people that say, given how adventurous it's been with Felix Bautista this season?
That's putting it mildly.
Well, but let's be fair. The results have still been good,
Yeah,
right? Like, that's the difficult part about having this conversation. The results have still been exactly what you need them to be. It's just been, again, adventurous path to getting to those results.
I've been a huge follower of relief pitchers, for a long, long time. And, I love them. I think they're fantastic. When you get one, like in fantasy baseball, I picked up Liam Hendricks 3 years ago for $1. And I said,
Worked out
he's pitching
okay.
really well. And then all of a sudden he
Yep.
just evolved into the
Yep.
closer. Somebody right now in our league has got Yennier Cano, got him for $1. And he could. I'm a very firm believer, though, that at certain points the job becomes overwhelming psychologically for certain players, and they need an opportunity to decompress. And I can't tell you how much there's a decompression factor when a guy goes suddenly to pitching in the 7th inning or 8th inning versus the 9th inning. And that doesn't mean you've demoted him permanently. What better thing to have than 2 guys that can do the job? And I think that's what they'll probably do here a little bit. I happened to be listening to the game the other night because I was going to watch the basketball game, the Lakers-Warriors game. So I left early from the Oriole game. And Scott Garceau in the postgame was saying a lot of people are wondering why they brought in Cano instead of Bautista.
Right.
And Scott said, and he was right, last night Bautista threw 29 pitches.
Yep.
But Cano had also pitched in that game too, I believe.
He pitched an inning plus in that game.
He did,
but
but
he
14
didn't,
pitches.
Yeah, correct.
Right,
Look, Cano
14
had
pitches.
pitches.
But he had pitched.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Brandon Hyde wisely just said, let me have a game where I'm not pulling my hair out, and let's see if Yennier can really handle this. clearly right now he can handle it now. He's liable to get a moment too, So I think what you have is you hope all of a sudden you get Felix Bautista 4 or 5 games maybe in the 8th inning where the game is not on the line, and all of a sudden you look up and he's got 5 straight innings, 8 strikeouts, 0 ERA, and you go, he's back on par. And all of a sudden there's a game you just say, I'm going with Bautista.
So you are suggesting that you don't define – I brought this up earlier this week.
I don't think you have to define, unless there's a huge ego thing, which 2 weeks ago, you remember when they were all kidding around, if he's the mountain, what is Cano? And he was La Roca.
Yeah, the rock. Yep.
If all of a sudden Bautista took hey, I'm the mountain, I've got to have that job. And I don't think he'll do that. I think he's a good soldier.
It's interesting because I suggested that earlier this week, the idea that, hey, maybe you look at a lineup and you say, Bautista is really good against this part of this lineup. So if in the 8th inning tonight, this part of this lineup is what's coming up, give it to Bautista. But if in the 9th inning, that's what this part of this lineup is, then we want to make sure that we have Bautista. I had suggested that earlier in the week. We brought on Ben Verlander yesterday, who I like. I think is very good. And obviously, I'm not trying to say he's his brother.
What's his podcast called?
Flippin' Bats.
Flippin' Bats. Yeah, that's a cool name.
And he does the Fox stuff, obviously. I like Ben. And Ben said, look, the years that I have spent, and of course he pitched himself, and then he's been around a ton of pitchers in his life, it is a mental thing.
Did he pitch to Billy Cook at one time?
I don't know if he ever pitched to Billy Cook. We'll ask Billy when he joins us later on in the show. I don't. He said, look, it's such a mental thing for relievers that you can ask your 8th inning guy to pitch in the 9th inning, and it's no problem.
Right.
But the day that you go to your 9th inning guy and say, I want you to pitch in the 8th inning,
there's a lack of the adrenaline pumping.
It becomes a.
It can become a dicey thing if not handled
So
properly.
his suggestion was, until Bautista says he shows he can't do it, until that happens, Cano, you have this unicorn. If the most important moment of the game is the 5th inning because it's a 1-run game and the bases are loaded, you put Cano in then, get out of your jam, have him pitch the 6th, then go from there. If you say, we look at it tonight and tonight's our best option for having pitching in the 9th, no problem. But you don't move Bautista and have him pitch another inning. Now, that's not Bible. It's just the opinion of one person.
Right.
And it's not based on some statistics somewhere that can be proven.
There's a world where I agree with that. I don't think Bautista is at that help me out moment at all. Because, like you said, for the most part, the results haven't hurt the ball club.
Adventurous, but typically he's gotten through that this season, and the result has been good.
So I would say tonight, if there's a save situation and they needed both to pitch, Cano would probably come in the 8th,
right,
and Bautista would get the 9th.
I also think it becomes interesting what everyone's roles are when Tate and Givens get here in what looks like to be in the next week, right?
Yeah.
I think
I haven't kept up with both of them.
They both pitched on Wednesday, right?
Isn't Givens still a little closer?
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's right. But I know they both pitched on. Hang on a second. No, man, I know I just saw an update on this 2 days ago, but I apologize. I don't have it in front of me now. But again, we talk so much about who goes and those guys get there. The real question to me is what is their role other than to just be more reliable arms? If the Orioles are saying, hey, we think 5 innings is about what we're going to expect moving forward from our starting pitchers, well, then in a perfect world, you've got 4 different guys that you can all count on for 1 inning in Tate, Givens, Cano, and Bautista in order to get you through if the games work that way. So it's a heck of a situation to have if that ends up being the case once you get there, and both those guys prove that they are those guys, that Dylan Tate can match when he's been at his best, and Michael Givens can come in and be reliable as well.
Tate did a scoreless inning on Wednesday with Bowie, and Givens went 2/3 of an inning, let up 2 runs on Wednesday, and then went a third of an inning and let up a run yesterday.
Well, that's it.
So Givens.
And are they both at Bowie?
They're both at Bowie right now.
Okay. And has Tate only pitched the 1 time?
He's pitched I think 3 times.
Yeah.
I'll
if
go
they're
back
at the
to
3-point time, that their stay by the union is probably dictated some,
And obviously the Orioles were going to extend this rehab because it was making up for spring training. That was the idea
that they needed to really
a little bit longer. Is that essentially we're recreating spring training with you on this rehab stint. I am probably leaning towards there is no controversy at the moment as much as it's a good problem to have. That you have someone that you feel like you can use in any situation, and if at some point you decide that that situation is the ninth inning, I think it's one of the things I said the other day, we are obsessed with the save stat, and we forget the seventh inning might sometimes be the inning that changes the game, or to Ben Verlander's point, it might be the fifth inning. It might not be. The ninth inning is the only time where, like, if you're on the road, you don't get an opportunity for rebuttal, so we suggest that it's more
Andrew
important.
Miller, when he first became a relief pitcher, they used Terry Francona used him a lot in the fifth and sixth innings before he became high, quote unquote, high leverage, because he accurately knew this is the high leverage moment. It's not dictated by the inning; it's dictated by the situation.
100%. We're obsessed with the save. We're obsessed with the statistic. So we're almost slaves to it because of that. Like, you have to have – it has to be the ninth inning that's the highest leverage inning.
So who am I leaving out, though? The one thing I think that's interesting now in the bullpen, they had Aiken, they had Kalam. Now they have no Aiken.
Right.
Is there a second left-hander in the bullpen that I'm forgetting?
No, Voth is right.
Right, Voth is right. I'm
Perez.
sorry, yes.
You said Perez?
Who?
Oh, right,
Yeah,
Perez.
Perez and
Perez,
Colon.
correct. Thank
who has
you.
been ineffective for much of this
Well,
season.
and that creates another problem when you talk about who might go, because you look and say, well, Perez should go.
Another reason to bring up that guy DL, you know.
Jeez, I don't know if they can use him as a relief pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, they're stretching him out now.
Yeah, right. He's going to be in the rotation.
Didn't he strike out like 7 guys?
I think he did have
I think he went like 6 innings. He had a great start the other day.
Pitched like 3 innings and struck out 7, 9 outs or something like that.
I'll pull that up in one second. The other side of this is, of course, that as the pitching heats up, the bats kind of go silent over the course of the last week. Obviously, the Friday night game.
The pitching we faced is also top drawer.
Very good. So you're not concerned about the sort of lack of production over the course. The biggest thing that jumped out at me is the lack of big hits. The runners have been on base plenty. Of course, the Sunday game where you went 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position, and that wasn't against Strider or Fried.
Right.
Like, that was the day that sort of stands out significantly. That was Elder.
Yeah.
And then that was the game that went on to the 12th inning, which isn't supposed to happen anymore in baseball. We're supposed to have done away with 12-inning games at this point.
There was a 14-inning one the other night.
Oh, who was that? Who had a 14-inning game?
I forget who it was, but I
didn't
saw
even see that.
A 14-inning game. It was rough.
I forget who it was too, and I just heard them talking about it the other day. It was the Giants. No, it was.
Was this Monday? Was that Sunday? I thought.
Was it Milwaukee? Milwaukee and somebody.
It was Miami and Chicago Cubs. Okay. This was also Sunday.
Okay.
Yes. They went 14.
That part, not only, and I even said on Wednesday night, the lack of even productive outs with a runner on third base and 1 out in the inning. The fact that multiple times in that game, you didn't even need a hit. It almost felt like the baseball gods were going to make you pay for that. Like, you can't have multiple opportunities with a runner on third base and 1 out.
Either strike out or pop up.
Right.
You know.
You can't have that happen and the baseball guys not make you pay for it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that wasn't the case. They held on. They got the win. So you're attributing this more to the quality of who you're facing.
I'm attributing it. Here's my big problem with the Orioles lineup. And obviously they've got a lot of offensive firepower in this lineup. I think if Ryan Mountcastle were my number 6 or 7 hitter, I'd be, boy, he's really a good 6 or 7 hitter. When he's batting third or fourth, I think his lack of plate discipline is more times than not. And look, baseball is a game, it's very deep thinking to say baseball is a game of failure. You fail 2 out of 3 times, you know.
By the way, just for the record, D.L. Hall, his last 3 starts, 7, 8, 9 strikeouts.
How many innings?
3 in the one that had 7 strikeouts, then 5 in the one that had 8 strikeouts, 6 in the one where he had 9 strikeouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he's stretching out.
Maybe he is.
He can be a weapon either way. Again, my money is on relief pitching.
I hear you.
My point about Mountcastle is I don't know that he's ever going to be the type of 3 or 4 hitter that you look at a team and go, boy, they won 2 or 3 World Series or were in 2 or 3.
And he was in the middle of
he was in the middle of the order. I think that, like you said, the baseball finds your weak link. you know. And I think he is not a weak link. He's a weak link as a 3 or 4 hitter. You know,
I've said before, I think they're.
But in fairness, I don't know who I would be more comfortable with as a 3.
That's sort of, and you brought that up earlier.
Arias, well, obviously he's hurt now, but I mean, Arias, I feel like always comes up big when we need him to.
Yeah, but as
still on base percentage is not, you know.
I think that's where we are. By the way, maybe the most consistent hitter this season has been Austin Hayes, right? Like, this has been a weird year in which Adley Rutschman was red hot to start the season. Then he cooled off a little bit. Anthony Santander struggled a great deal to start the season. Now he's suddenly red hot.
I'd love to know, and this is probably easy to find. I'd love to know Austin Hayes' batting average when there are two outs. I feel like he rises to be like a 400 hitter when there's 2 outs, and when there's a duck on the pond,
he's not.
He's like 220 or and
that's
that's easy to look up, isn't it?
I will put.
I'm just very
yeah.
slow
We
at
should get
looking.
splits.
Baseball reference and the splits and all that.
I'll assign Griffin to that.
Let's see. He is. Oh my gosh, with 2 outs. Are you kidding me? He is 17 for 32 with 2 outs.
There you
571.
go. Look at you. Look at you. So you're saying those again? Not every 2 out. His situation is created because it could be that there are 2 outs and a runner in scoring.
I always look up. I go, yeah, he got a double, or
right.
And I go, oh, there's 2 outs.
Right, and they ends up being left out on the bag. Well, what is he with runners in
250 with runners in scoring position?
So there's your. There you go. There you go. Your numbers are backed
Different
up.
Hitter.
Right.
Different
Correct.
Hitter.
Whereas Cedric Mullins obviously has been outstanding with runners
different
in scoring
hitter
position.
and more than likely different level of pitching. In other words, a pitcher lets up.
Okay, it doesn't make the same pitches in those situations they would otherwise.
Yeah.
That is fair to say. So the next thing that's kind of coming, and Mike Elias addressed that this week, is that all of a sudden we're getting to the point now you brought up before the show, Westberg. Colton Cowser is obviously going to be in this conversation, but it's not as pressing as it was with Rutschman a year ago because of the name value of Adley Rutschman. But we're getting to the point where there's going to be more people looking and saying, isn't it time for these guys to graduate? Isn't it time for those guys to get here? And it's not as easy as it was a year ago when it was Rutschman replacing Robinson Chirinos, and everybody said, yes, go right ahead.
Right.
Let's do it. Now it's a more complicated conversation. Bordick was saying to me the other day, well, that's why you just wait until somebody gets hurt.
Yep.
You don't force anybody up here until somebody gets hurt. And he's probably right that it's going to come, right? Like, obviously, Arias got hurt this week.
My other problem, and I've addressed the problem, is a number 1 starter that they don't have. And I think they have a lot of 2s and 3s, which is much better than 3 or 4 years ago.
Well,
when
they had a bunch of 5s,
4s
right?
And 5s.
Yeah.
So that's much better.
Yes.
My problem is Mountcastle. My other problem on this team is the bench. And the bench can help you win ball games. It really can. Matchups, defensive replacements and things. And I look at this bench, and 2 weeks ago I wrote a note on my 5 observations. They got to help Brandon with a better bench. They brought up Stowers
yep.
and O'Hearn. Well, it's clear right now Stowers is not very good as a starter or as a guy pinch hitting in the 9th inning, but he's still on the team. Then they went out and made that head-scratching move, which I thought they really had a serious reason to pick up Luis Torrens.
Yeah.
I mean, they paid cash for him.
And look, I think they're hoping that he doesn't, that they can get him to AAA.
Yeah,
I think
sure that they're hoping of that.
Right.
But boy, that seemed odd that they didn't keep him around longer.
Well, they've
than
got their
3
answer.
days.
You saw, right? They got their answer.
What's that?
They're having Taron Vavra work as a catcher. This is not a joke.
Are they
they
really?
are?
Yes.
Okay.
Taron Vavra.
Well,
I mean,
let me tell you something. Taron Vavra probably can do that. Yep.
So this was Rock was the one who reported this
Okay.
yesterday, and again, it's not. They're not suggesting that Taron Vavra is going to catch tonight.
But my question 3 weeks ago in that game, I think it was in Chicago, right, Griffin? The game where they pinch hit Rutschman in the game, and, they were down to 1 catcher, and it was
like
in
the
the
7th
8th inning,
inning,
7th or 8th inning. And I'm saying, geez, who would? I'm not nervous about it, of them both DHing the same day, but damn it, late in the game, I want them to sort of both be in the game in case one would get hurt.
On April
Right.
29th, Vavra caught. He came in late in a Norfolk game against Charlotte when Norfolk was ahead 16-1.
Okay.
And apparently they have been having him work as a
Right.
I mean, I like that better than picking up Luis Torrens for nothing.
But that's
or
what we
th-
talked.
and
I
dropping
said
him.
then, like you could use a Gaddis, a player that is really
Mountcastle.
there to be a bat off the bench.
Yeah,
but in an
Torrens
emergency
is a guy you plug in if there's an injury to Rutschman, then he'd be perfect to come up.
For a little bit.
Yeah.
The guy that they
Better
could,
than Ben
the
Boone.
guy they could really use on their bench is the guy that's a bat that's there because he might run one out of the park in a pinch hitting situation late, but also could be your emergency catcher
Right.
in a situation. Not a guy that you really want to have catching regularly, but if you have to throw him behind the plate, you can. And once upon a time, the tragic Jim Leyritz was maybe that guy, right? Like, you know, that's the type of player that you're looking for in that situation that just has a bit of a live bat.
I'd like to get Connor Norby behind the plate as an
You want to think
emergency
that's your answer?
I'm sure he would be thrilled with
I don't know that would be the route for Connor Norby, but yeah, I understand that we would sort of laugh about Terran Vavra being the live bat. He's
Right.
not I mean, not necessarily. I mean, maybe he could still prove to be that guy.
But he's got an on-base percentage,
Correct.
possibilities, and
It's fascinating because it does seem like they're trying to address the problem that you're bringing up and understanding they can't really waste another roster spot.
there's no question that Brandon Hyde likes the flexibility of using McCann and Rutschman both in the lineup, and I think McCann is giving good backup to that supposition that hey, he can be a meaningful offensive player. He was not a total turd, when the Mets signed him. He started with the Tigers, went to the White Sox, and was pretty good. I mean, like a 48 RBI, 8-9 homers. He was not a guy you never wanted to come up. The Mets gave the guy $40 million over 4 years.
Right. Look, I'm not. I think McCann's been fine. I think I don't think McCann's part of the problem here. I think he's for his role, he's part of the solution.
He's almost too good for the manager not
to
play
have him.
Exactly
right.
Which might be less of a problem if Jordan Westberg were on the team.
Well, okay, I'll go another step forward. If you were to bring up a Colton Cowser,
right,
the problem becomes right now, which of these guys do you not want in the lineup? And the question becomes, are you making who a full-time DH at that point? Like, who of that group, because you don't want to lose Santander's arm in the outfield, so you don't really want to move him to first base, which you could do and make Mountcastle your full-time DH.
But you could play Hazen right, and you're not really losing much.
A ton arm-wise if you then move Santander to first or have him DH at that point.
And I don't think the Orioles are going to have a full-time DH. The way Brandon's doing it, I think, is very
there's regular.
Cool. He has Mountcastle and Santander.
And Gunnar.
And also Gunners occasionally, and Rutschman. Basically, DH.
But didn't they say now with Arias out they want Gunnar? Wasn't there the word
that
was
would make sense.
Consistently, they don't want to have him DHing. They want him to be playing third base now, kind of every day. Which I think a lot of people have argued is something they should have done at the beginning of the season in order to try to get him comfortable and know this is what you're doing. Look, I am at some point. I get what Mike Bordick's answer is, but at some point, what you're saying about the bench, compounded with what more does X player have to prove?
Right.
I think you have to say this is a problem that we'll solve as we need to, but this guy should be here.
And it takes some of that pressure off the fact that there are, and seriously, I did not know it until last week, that there's a third wild card in each league.
Mm-hmm.
So the Orioles, look, the chances of them running down, we'll know in 2-3 weeks whether they have any chance at all of running down the Tampa Bay Rays, okay? It would be nice if the Yankees could help and maybe at least split with them to give us a chance to.
They were trying the other day, and then the Rays were like, the thing about a 6-run deficit is we don't care.
We don't care, right. So that's part of this equation is that I'm sure there's no clock ticking like, hey, we better solve this now.
Right.
They will solve this over the next 4 to 6 weeks. What the bench is going to be like on this team.
I agree. I think that at some point, I think this month, after this month, it's harder to justify Cowser and Westberg staying in the minor leagues if they continue to hit the way that they've. If right now, what I think they're both over 300, and they're both. I mean, like they're both having outstanding seasons. If those guys are still performing that way come Memorial Day, it's a very tough sell to me that they just stay there because you're not ready to address that at the major league level. It's
And in the case of Cowser, I'd want to sort of get a 2-week glimpse of him, because that could impact whether you'd be willing to
try
trade
to
a
move
Mullins or a Hayes.
I feel like Mullins
is having a very
and to the point,
very solid
he's
season.
one of the few guys that constantly comes through with runners in scoring
he's doing
position,
a great job.
and his stolen base ability is
no
so
question about it. And Hayes now, we've watched him, has virtually no stolen base
correct.
ability.
I would be more.
And I don't think Gunnar is going to have that too much.
It doesn't. Yeah, I don't. Not for stolen bases. I think
Not
he
for
can
stolen
do
base.
other things
He's
as a
gonna
base
be a
runner,
great
right?
player.
But I don't think he's going to be a base stealer necessarily, and that's such a weapon right now with Mullins. I have actually gone the opposite way with Mullins, where I am not at all interested in trading him. I am.
He's having a wonderful season.
He's too valuable in too many ways.
Yeah.
I get it. The arm is what it is.
Arm
you
is
can't.
not good.
You can't do anything about that. And he's not going to be a 30 home run guy. Like that was a.
No. But he can
it was
hit
an
you
aberration.
15 to 17.
Correct. The other things he does are so valuable that I have no interest in him not being a part of this team.
I understand that feeling.
Yeah. All right. Stan the Fan is here. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Today's show is also brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers, which is where you should go to sign up for all these great incentives and offers from the various sports books in order to make sure that you are taking advantage of every opportunity you have to spend somebody else's money on sports betting. So, for example, right now, you go to PointsBet. Actually, let me start. You go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. You click on the PointsBet logo. Then you deposit and bet your first $50. You're going to get 5 second chance bets. So
How many?
5. So if your bet goes wrong, right? Like, let's say you're Griffin and you wanted to bet last week on Henry Cejudo because you were driving. You know, he drove up to New York to watch the UFC fight last Saturday night.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
for
U.S.
God's
what?
sake, the UFC fight.
Oh, the UFC.
Yes, drove
Very
all the way
fun.
up to
Very,
Newark, New
very.
Jersey. This man makes like $5 an hour here, and somehow I got to figure out.
Money.
Or he's doing really well with sports betting.
I snuck in.
Oh, did you? That's impressive. Let's talk more about that. Let's say you wanted to bet on the Henry Cejudo, and that's why you're really mad about what they decided what the decision was in the fight, because you
throwing
got
stuff in the octagon.
You got your bet wrong. You're going to get 5 chances to make up for it.
Really?
5 opportunities to bet again and not get it wrong the next time.
I think there's any way they could do a 6th time.
I don't know.
I think I could.
We can't offer that through PressBoxOnline.com/offers, though, Stan, and that's the important takeaway from all of this. Is you go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers, you sign up with PointsBet, and you take advantage of that great deal. When we come back in, Neil Walker, former Pirate, now part of their broadcast crew. Big series this weekend in Baltimore. We'll chat with Neil Walker next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holliday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Harford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Harford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The national championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know what's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
Trying to figure that out, Stan, as I'm looking. Neil Walker, second full season of being a Pirates, as a member of the Pirates broadcast team. I think it's sort of like what the Orioles do, where it's just we give you an assignment, go do it. Although they only, at this point, it's basically Jim and Ben. They don't really have any other former players that are doing it.
Davey Johnson comes on.
I think every now and then they'll throw him in for a game if like those guys are off somewhere. He does, but it's pretty much just Jim and Ben at this point. Stan the Fan is here. It's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Yes, Neil Walker is going to join us in a couple minutes. We'll preview Pirates-Orioles this weekend. If you have not signed up yet at PressBoxOnline.com/contest, I don't know what you're waiting for. Got a great contest going on right now where you can win 4 tickets to each of the area's minor league baseball teams, plus an easy pass. Oh, hang on a second.
From my nephew, not my cousin.
I thought I tried to correct you when you said it. I thought I tried to. I love him. I love him.
Who is
so
Josh
much.
Charles?
I don't know who that guy is.
I don't know.
He's just a buddy that I.
He's my
correct.
Is he my cousin or my brother?
I believe that he is your nephew.
Your brother's
believe
cousin.
that's
He's definitely
the case.
my nephew.
I believe that's the case.
And I'm proud to say that.
Oh, I would be very proud, obviously. I hope, well, I don't have any nephews, so this won't be an issue for me. I was going to say, I hope to have a nephew that's talented and accomplished, but that's not an issue.
Maybe next Friday, if he's in the U.S., we can have him come on and take me to task for that.
Call you out for
person,
it?
yeah.
Call you out. Well, he'll definitely hear this. I know that much.
Oh.
He'll definitely, of anything that I appreciate the most about Josh Charles, he is, I wish that we had listeners as dedicated as Josh is. I pray that more of you get as dedicated as Josh is. He doesn't always listen live, but he always listens, and he is always ready to tell me what he disagrees about, which I appreciate the best.
He's opinionated.
And actually, we agree far more than we disagree. Overwhelmingly, we agree about things. Great contest. 4 tickets to each of the local minor league baseball teams, an Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25, and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around. You must be 18 or older in order to enter. The sweepstakes ends on June 14th. Again, get over to PressBoxOnline.com/contests right now in order to sign up, and you can go see some of these guys that we were just talking about a minute ago. Did you get the Aberdeen, by the way?
Did I get to
Aberdeen? I know you're
going
to go see.
No,
I know you wanted to go see Jackson Holiday. He made a nice home debut the other night with the home
run. Is he my
run.
cousin?
I don't believe it. I don't think there's a relation there, but we'll try to dive into it
Matt
next time.
Was.
Matt was. Well, then I'm pretty sure that you are related. I'm pretty sure it works out that way, that you end up having some sort of relation whatsoever.
Josh is in Paris, by the way. So we have a listener in Paris.
I did know that. I actually felt bad because he wanted to set the Lamar meter one morning, and I didn't even realize that he was in Paris when we were talking. I was like, now I feel like a jerk. All right, so Orioles Pirates this weekend.
Yes.
What does that stir up inside of you, Stan Charles?
Stirs up the chance for a sweep.
Okay, that. But does any of the 1979 stuff still register with you in any way?
Well, what registers to me is that they beat us in a decade. They beat us twice in the World Series, 71 and 79.
Yep.
Now, 79 was appallingly painful because I went to games 3 and 4 in Pittsburgh and elected my friend Steve Feder and I were up there visiting a friend of ours who got tickets, David Rubenstein, and we actually talked late Saturday night and said we'd rather drive back to Baltimore Sunday and be here for the euphoria after we won the World Series.
Oh,
And that
is-
game was, if I'm not mistaken, Game 4 was Jim Rooker versus Jim Palmer in game.
I mean, you
five.
might as well go ahead and
Game
put it in the
5.
win column, right?
I
Might
did.
as well. I know you did.
And that was before I knew Joe Angel.
Oh, yeah, right. Do you still like that? If you heard "We Are Family" this weekend, would your skin?
I love Sly and the Family Stone, so that would not bother me. We are family. Wait a minute.
Sister
we are,
Sledge.
Sister Sledge.
Yeah.
What was the song? Wasn't there a song that they did from Sly and the Family Stone? Or didn't Sly and the Family Stone do?
Did they do a version? I don't know that they did a version. I'm trying to think of. We'll get
Anyway,
to it.
I leave more questions out there than I answer these days. The whistling of Omar Moreno's wife with that whistle was the most annoying.
You still think
thing.
of you still have that come up. Orioles Pirates this weekend here in Baltimore. Joining us now, he is part of the Pirates broadcast crew after he had a very nice career himself that began with the Pirates and a few other teams. He is Neil Walker, and he's with us here on GCR. Neil, it's Glenn and Stan in Baltimore. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
It's great to chat with you. You know, a lot of people around baseball have been looking at the Orioles as like this incredible surprise this season because they're amongst the best teams in baseball. But I don't know that there's been a more stunning story in baseball this year than the Pirates have been. How has this happened this year that the Pirates find themselves in first place coming into this weekend?
Well, in my opinion, there's a couple factors that have led to the good start for the Pirates, particularly in the month of April. You know, the team did a really nice job this offseason of bringing in some quality veterans like Andrew McCutchen, Rich Hill,
Troy.
Yep. And they also put an emphasis on offensive players that tend to be on the higher on base percentage side. And also players that can run, the G1 Bays and Connor Joes. And for the most part, through up and down the lineup, with most of their everyday guys, you have guys that are capable of stealing bases, or at least capable of attempting stealing bases, as we've seen the last 2 weeks. So it's been an interesting combination. The starting pitching has been better than they had, I think, initially hoped up until these last 2 weeks. But make no mistake that the April that the Pirates put together was very, very impressive, and they did it in a lot of facets. Hitting with runners in scoring position, stealing a lot of bases, pitchers going close to 6 innings a start, back end of the bullpen being really strong, and that's just kind of slipped a little bit along with the defense and mistakes on the base paths, and you know, not necessarily the length of the starting pitchers these last call it 2 weeks.
Neil, you've played in big league clubhouses a long time. What does it mean in the clubhouse? And I know, ironically, my question's going to lead whether they lost 5 in a row or 6 in a row right after they signed them. But what does that Brian Reynolds extension do in that clubhouse right now? Does it really have any meaning to the other players?
It does, and it sends a message to the rest of the guys that are, you know, pre 3 years of service time, that, hey, listen, if you find yourself as a quality major league player, you got an opportunity to, number one, cash in, but number two, be a part of something that's in the building process. And you know, in the Pittsburgh market, you're not accustomed to seeing the Pirates handing out $80 to $100 million contracts year in and year out, and they've done that a handful of times now in the last 24 months. So Brian Reynolds is a terrific player. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, mixing him, knowing that you're going to have him as your cornerstone for the foreseeable future is great. But like I said, it sends a message to the rest of the guys that, hey, you know, the guys like Mitch Keller who have really taken huge steps forward, moving in from last year into this year, that, hey, if you want to be here and you're performing, we are going to do everything we can to keep you here past your going into your free agent years. But we're also going to do a good job of supplementing those players with quality veterans and guys like, you know, O'Neal Cruz, who unfortunately is out for a significant period of time. But the talent is very, you know, it's very apparent in this organization that over the course of the last 5-6 years, they've stacked up high first-round picks, the Henry Davises of the world, Andy Rodriguez, who is not a draft guy, but a guy that's shooting up the ranks. So it's a very interesting place to be. And I think in the minds of Pirates, fans, you look at the year that the Baltimore Orioles had last year and taking that big step forward, and also obviously the really good start they've had. And you they almost think like, hey, the Pirates could potentially be on the same trajectory.
He is Neil Walker. He's with us here on GCR. By the way, we should point out Brian Reynolds, actually a Baltimore native. I don't know that everybody knows that, but he didn't live here very long when he was a kid, but he was born here. I want to just stay there for a second if I could, Neil. Part of what Stan just asked, in Baltimore we are clamoring for the Orioles to do this thing where they sign these young guys and lock them up. You mentioned it wasn't the first time the Pirates had done it. They did it with Ke'Bryan Hayes, and Ke'Bryan Hayes hasn't necessarily been a superstar since he got that huge contract. I wonder, is there any regret? Is there any, I'm sure it's far too early for that because, he's still very young in his career. But the pain of making a decision and it not necessarily being, Ronald Acuna or Ozzie Albies that comes after that. What is the reaction when you do that? Is the organization down on it? Are they frustrated about the decision? Or is it more, hey, he's still a good baseball player. It was worth making the decision to go ahead and give him all that money?
Well, I think with Ke'Bryan, you start with the defensive side of things, which he's quite possibly the best defensive player in the game right now, at a premium position, outside of the shortstop position. He is phenomenal. We've gotten very fortunate in being able to watch him on a daily basis now. He does affect the game on a daily basis from the defensive side. So we'll start there.
Okay.
The offensive side of things, when you look at the peripheral numbers, they're not fantastic. He's not a big slugging guy right now, but he's a guy that hits a lot of balls hard. So when you're digging into the numbers, you'll see that he's ran into some BABIP problems early on, but at the same time, in a day and age of the fly ball era, he just hasn't necessarily gotten to that point of figuring out how to lift the ball. But he has incredible bat to ball skills. He does a great job with two strikes. He's able to kind of use the 4-hole when he wants. And I think he's just getting to a point where he's going to have to figure out a way to pick and choose those times to pull balls and to pull balls successfully and get them in the air. So I can't necessarily say, at least right now, that there's any regret, because I think in the minds of at least fans to probably management, they're saying, well, at the very minimum, we have one of the best defensive players in the league.
Sure.
But at the same time, you've spent a lot of money for a guy like this, and you would love to be able to insert him like Brian Reynolds into that 2, 3, 4 spot in the lineup. Whereas right now he's being used in the 1 spot in the 5-6 hole, which is okay, but he doesn't, with the bat to ball skills and his average exit velocity, they're all really good, but he just hasn't figured out a way to get that ball in the air. He hits a ton of ground balls and a ton of line drives. And in today's day and age of slugging, it just hasn't matched up. So it'll be an interesting case study from offensive players moving toward the end of the year, and once he starts to stack up 400, 500 bats, because he's still stuck on 1 home run, and to a lot of people that's an issue.
Wanted to ask you about a player on the surface. Wouldn't you'd say, of all the people to ask me about it, is this guy, Miguel Andujar. I was a big fan of his when he came up, and his rookie year, 27 home runs, got hurt, injured his shoulder pretty badly early the next season, 2019. He was up and down, over and out, outfield, third base, DH, and he finally got out of New York, and he's with Pittsburgh. Is that player still inside him, the one that before the shoulder surgery?
He's another very interesting topic, and a guy that I played with in New York. And
that's right, you did. Yep.
I was able to, in 2018 when he was a rookie and had that unbelievable season. The knock on him at that time was his defense. He wasn't tremendously trusted at third base. He hadn't had any injuries, and the thing about Miguel is that he makes a ton of contact, and he's the odd guy that the best pitch to Miguel Andujar is a flat fastball right down the middle. The guy, he's outside the zone, contact skills and hits on those balls are not normal. And for me, that can play. The bat to ball skills play with him. I think the timing between the injury after his stellar rookie season in New York, mixed with the defensive issues, were what ultimately led to him parting ways with the New York Yankees. But we've seen in the early going, and it's still fairly small sample size between the end of last year and this year. It's somewhat difficult to predict how he's going to get playing time unless Ke'Bryan Hayes were to go down. He might be an option at third base or first base, and they've stuck him in the outfield, and he's done an okay job. But we haven't been able to see the consistent at bats with him, so it's hard to really say if he's closer to the 2018 player or if he's closer to the 20 and 2021 player. But the bat to ball skills are there. The power is still there. I see a little bit of pressing from him trying to reestablish himself.
Yep.
As an offensive player, he's been, for the most part, strictly, been in the lineup only against lefties to this point. So for me, it's going to have to take an injury or an unforeseen issue for us to see him in the lineup on a semi-everyday basis. And to be fair, that's to be a guy that plays part-time, that only faces left-handed pitchers and be fairly young, that's a very difficult task.
Can I ask you one follow-up to this, Neil? Would he be a guy who the correct career choice might be to go to Japan for 2 years and just play all the time?
I never really gave that much thought, but I think you could be very accurate with that statement. For me, he needs at bats, and he needs to reestablish himself as a major league quality hitter first. In today's day and age with DH duty and things like that, and he does well enough in the field to not be an issue. You might be right. I think that might be something that would benefit a player like him. He's still young enough.
Yep.
He's gone through a tough stretch. He's to some degree he's gotten typecasted. I'm not saying that that's how he's viewed in Pittsburgh, but that's the feeling I get, that he's been a little bit typecasted. That's a really interesting point that I've never thought about.
He is Neil Walker. We're previewing Orioles Pirates this weekend. Just another couple of minutes here on GCR. Neil, you brought up Keller, obviously. The three pitchers the Orioles are going to face this weekend, Oviedo, Contreras, and Mitch Keller. Not exactly household names necessarily. What do we need to know about the first two guys? And then to your point, how has Mitch Keller become this guy this season that clearly is sort of the top of the rotation at this point for Pittsburgh?
Yeah, well, let's start with Oviedo. He's had a little tough run these last couple games, and actually, I can lump Oviedo and Contreras together because the arsenal is very similar. It's very fastball, slider heavy. Oviedo more mid to upper 90s fastballs with a little bit of run, and Contreras more low to mid fastballs with, in my opinion, a little better slider. But what we've seen from both of those guys is just when the slider's working and when they're able to throw it in the zone, call it 0-0, 1-0, 2-1, these odd hitters counts, they've been extremely successful. And strike one has been they've been a huge benefactor of strike one, which may sound kind of silly because that's for everybody, but both of these guys are for the most part two-pitch pitchers. And when you're talking about two-pitch pitchers, if they have plus stuff, they're able to get away with it. But when we've seen that at their best, the slider has been really good. It's been 60% use. It's been in the zone. It's been later on in the at-bats in good spots out of the zone getting chases. And when it hasn't been on, it's been having to go back to the fastball a little bit more and have gotten beat up a little bit. Okay. So they're both looking for bounce-back starts here in Baltimore. And with Mitch Keller, it's quite possible we are seeing an ace in the making. This is a guy that has a 7-pitch arsenal. He's got a two-seam. He's got a cutter that he's just started throwing this year and has been a very, very good pitch, particularly to left-handed hitters. He's got a 4-seam that he can run up to the upper 90s. He's got what they call a sweeper. in basically a variation between a slider, a curveball that he adds and subtracts, and he does have a changeup that he throws very rarely. But this guy is tremendous. I mean, he's coming off a start against Colorado that he threw a 4-hit shutout. He was basically 70% fastball, between the 4-seam, 2-seam, and cutter, and just was attacking guys from pitch one to pitch to his last pitch was 103 in that start. So it's been fun. He's been the stopper for these guys. He seems to have figured out who he is and what he's trying to accomplish and how he's trying to get there, and you're seeing the conviction. So it's interesting because the first two guys that Baltimore will see today and tomorrow are guys that are really trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out if these guys need to develop a third pitch. And then you have a guy in Mitch Keller who's still somewhat in the early stages of his career that seemed to have figured it out. So, but for me, the length of these starting pitchers is something that was really good in April, and outside of Mitch Keller hasn't been so good lately, and the bullpen's getting beat up just a little bit and getting exposed just a little bit. So, but at the same time, if they can get the ball to Holderman and Bednar in the 8th and 9th, they've had a lot of success. So it should be a fun series. We know we're coming into we haven't had any success, 0-6 against the AL East, and we know that the Baltimore Orioles are playing really good baseball. So they got to clean up the defensive stuff. They have to make good decisions on the base paths. But that's kind of how this Pirates team is set up per se going into this series.
Hey, last question from me. The Orioles are just finishing up a rebuild and have turned the corner last year, and hopefully much brighter days ahead for us. Pittsburgh, it feels like you're at that point of perhaps turning a corner. Are you fully confident that Ben Cherington and Derek Shelton will be there when the winning starts?
I do. I do think so. I think Ben has made a really good effort to, number one, sign some players that he targets as guys that are going to help him not just this year, but 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I think Derek Shelton was to some degree given a tough hand when he signed here, going essentially into the COVID season and a rebuild. So I think this year and next year are a really good litmus test for his ability to rally the troops and move the team forward. The biggest thing in my mind from the beginning of the season to now is the loss of O'Neal Cruz, a guy that just is beyond talented. The skill level of everything he can do is off the charts. Now that doesn't always match into hits and average and home runs and all that stuff, but the loss of essentially 4 months of development from him, particularly as a potential shortstop of the future, has been a huge blow. And the lineup construction when he was in and healthy was very long. You weren't having to use Ke'Bryan Hayes at the top of the order. You were able to use him in that 5, 6, 7 hole. So you're still going to have these guys that are going to be the cornerstones. I really believe O'Neal Cruz will be a cornerstone unless something derails his career even worse than what this ankle injury did for him. But I believe that these guys between Derek Shelton and Ben Cherington, they have a good idea of what they're trying to accomplish and how they're going to try to accomplish it. Whether that be a huge step forward this year in getting closer to that 500 number and then a bigger step next year, that's to be seen. But the good news is that it seems as though the NL Central is going to be fairly light for this year and hopefully next year for their sake.
Man, the Cardinals are a mess. Neil Walker, greatly appreciate. Should be an exciting weekend here in Baltimore. Really appreciate you hopping on with us this morning, taking a couple minutes.
Thank you, Neil.
Hey, you guys got it. Have a great weekend.
That's Neil Walker, part of the Pirates broadcast crew, and a heck of a baseball player, obviously, himself. Appreciate him taking the time for us. And, again, the Ke'Bryan Hayes thing is interesting to me, right, because it's a reminder that not every time that you pay this money do you get Ronald Acuna. Do you get, there is still an amount of risk that's involved making the decision. At this point, Ke'Bryan Hayes is still an outstanding defensive player and is a guy that you want to have playing every day. It's not like it's a Chris Davis contract or something like that. But that every time you identify a guy that you come up and say, this is a rock star prospect, they don't all pan out to be superstar players.
The two others that come to mind are John Singleton
sure.
with the Astros.
Uh-huh.
Remember,
Yep.
Bud Norris
no doubt.
knocked him for taking that contract.
Right.
And the other guy, I'm forgetting, is a Philadelphia Philly. An infielder.
Wasn't Reese Hoskins, was it?
No, it was somebody who really hasn't made it. He's
Okay.
still on their 40-man
right.
roster. I'll look it up. But
All right. I will take a look when we get a chance. Thank you again to Neil Walker for joining us this morning. Go right from Neil Walker as we're talking about Pirates-Orioles this weekend, an opportunity for us to catch up with one of the Orioles starting pitchers and someone who has made a huge commitment to the community this season, despite the fact that he is brand new here in Baltimore. We are really excited about this. Kyle Gibson is with us this morning here on GCR. Kyle, it's Glenn and Stan. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you so much for taking some time for us this morning.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Great to chat with you.
Kyle, I'm really excited about what you've done with Big League Impact. This is really cool to me. Someone who's very new to the community deciding to step up and try to deliver for the community. For people that don't know about your partnership and how they can get involved, because I know there's a couple of different elements to it. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. So our work in the community goes back to when Elizabeth and I were kids, and we both played. She was a gymnast and I was in travel baseball, and a lot of those efforts, included fundraising and doing camps and other things to help people out. So, between that and our faith, just believing that, we have a lot to offer other people because of where we're at, it's important to us to try to help others when we can. So we've tried to do that in every city we've lived in and every team we've played for. So Baltimore's no different. We wanted to jump in and, find areas to help out, find areas of need and see if we can fill gaps there. So when I was able to get on board with Big League Impact and do my first fantasy football league in 2015 in Minnesota, it just seemed like something that made sense. It gave fans a great chance to come out and play fantasy football with their favorite Minnesota Twins. And then Adam Wainwright, who started Big League Impact, asked me to come on board as vice president going into 2018. And, it's just been something I really enjoyed, learning, how he gets things done, learning how he and his wife, Jenny, treat margins in their life and how they use those margins to help other people. And, he's just always got those things on his mind. So it's been really cool to learn from him. And then, bringing that stuff to Baltimore was a no-brainer. So we this year we've got an all-win campaign, and then each guy that is doing that, they're donating for either extra base hits or strikeouts. Tyler Wells and I are donating for each strikeout we get, and then Austin Hayes and Cedric Mullins are donating for offensive categories as well, on top of team wins. And then we're going to do a fantasy football league later in the summer.
Oh, cool.
And then the other big event's going to be a Top Golf event coming up as well in August.
That's awesome, man. And I know you're involved with the House of Ruth and the Maryland Food Bank. But if people go right now to bigleagueimpact.org/allwinbaltimore, again, bigleagueimpact.org/allwinbaltimore, is it donations are going to match what you guys are doing or just more of a general fund? Can you explain that part to me?
Yeah, so if they go to AllWin, that website you just said, bigleagueimpact/allwinbaltimore, they'll have the opportunity to pledge in each of those campaigns.
Okay.
So, and it can be as little as 10 cents a team win, right?
Yep.
We go win 100 games and they donate, $10 at the end of the year.
Yep.
We really try to not minimize any donation because there's people in all walks of life that want to join something and help, but maybe they don't have the means to donate $100, but they can do $5. So that's what we're trying to do, is just give people from all walks of life a chance to donate. And you got Cedric Mullins donating to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. And people have chosen a lot of different charities too. So if you go to AllWin, it'll help all those charities. If you want to donate to specifically Cedric's cause, you can donate to his campaign as well.
That's awesome, man. Kyle Gibson, good on you, man. This is a really incredible thing for you to be doing.
Some great stuff. Great stuff. Hey,
Thank you. I appreciate it. And then all throughout the year, every time we win a homestand or a road trip, I don't know if you guys follow me on social media, but we're going to give away an autograph item to people who have signed up. So if you donate a minimum of $5 for the whole year, you're eligible to win autograph items, each time the Orioles win a homestand or a road trip. So, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be giving away a lot of autographed items to those people who have decided to help those in need.
It's great.
Hey, very cool. Hey, Kyle, I wanted to hop back on the playing field for a second and get your take because you've been around. You've been around for a while. A buddy of mine, who's our managing editor here at PressBox, brought up an interesting point. The San Francisco Giants, since the retirement of Buster Posey, have scuffled a bit, and the Cardinals, first year after Yadier Molina retires, are scuffling a little bit. Orioles get Adley Rutschman up last May and have done, I won't say nothing but win, but we've been a pretty good, real competitive ball club. How important are these catchers to the success of the pitching staff and setting the tone that way?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think catchers play they play a huge role in a lot of aspects of the team, right? You know, they're every player has an important job on defense and offense, but I think when you, in Adley's case, and especially in Buster's case, you know, I think, you know, Yachty obviously offensively towards the end of his career wasn't quite the same, but I think when you have a catcher who impacts the game in a huge way on both sides of the baseball, it gives you a massive advantage. And, you know, I think that's what we have in Adley. And then, you know, also I think the third aspect that is going to be even more important this year is controlling the run game. And I think, once again, we have an advantage in that aspect with Adley. So, you know, when you have special talent behind the plate, it tends to really stand out. And those guys can be team leaders, and those guys, you know, can impact the game in so many ways every single day. Because, you know, you can go out there and play shortstop and you might get 4 balls hit to you all game. You know, Adley's in every single play that he's behind the plate. So I mean, I think I don't think there's any coincidence that happens. You know, you don't normally see a great catcher on a below average team. I guess Real Muto, you know, was on the Marlins there for a little bit. You know, I'd say that would probably count as one, but it just doesn't happen as often. Those guys are normally staples on really good teams.
He is Kyle Gibson. He's with us here on GCR. Kyle, a week ago, dummies like Stan and I and everybody else in the media were like, man, what's wrong with –
Speak for yourself.
All right, fine. Me and Stan, who's smart. We were talking about, hey, what's wrong with Orioles starting pitching, right? Like, is it time to start maybe tinkering, maybe bring somebody up, something like that. All of a sudden, this last week has been unbelievable. You guys are the mid-'90s Braves all of a sudden over the course of the last week. Is there something you can put your finger – is it maybe the step up in competition, playing the excitement of these games – is there anything in particular you can put your finger on about how, you know, the entire rotation has delivered the way that it has over the course of the last week?
I mean, I think it really is like all parts of the game. It can go in cycles. You know, starting pitching isn't unlike offense, right? When you have 7 or 8 guys slumping, everybody thinks, you know, that the whole team is going down. Starting pitching has a way to really bring a lot of consistency to a team. And I think this is the blessing and the curse of starting pitching is that when we have a bad game, it tends to stand out and we normally lose the game. Mm-hmm. So that makes it, you know, even amplified a little bit more when the starting pitching isn't throwing well. You know, if you have 3 guys slumping and they're, you know, 0 for 14 in the last week, you know, you can hide that a little bit if everybody else is picking it up. So, you know, it still goes in cycles, and it's not like offense where you would rather not have, or it's not unlike offense where you'd rather not have 7 guys slumping, because when all 5 of your rotation guys, you know, have a bad turn through the rotation, there's a chance you're going to go 0-5.
Right. So,
you know, we obviously rather, you know, not have that happen, but it's baseball, man. I mean, but on the flip side, if you have your 5 guys go out there and throw well over a 5-day period, you know, you can go 5-0 real quick.
Kyle, I got a last question for you. You've been with the Twins, you've been with the Rangers, the Phillies, and the Orioles. From my perception here, and I've watched baseball a long, long time, it looks like Chris Holt and the analytics people here have a little bit of a secret sauce that they are able to get pitchers to improve. Is that accurate? Am I being too simplistic? Your thoughts?
You know, I obviously,
and I'm not asking
for a little bit.
I'm not asking for the secret sauce. I just want to be clear.
Okay, all right. because I was going to say no comment if you asked for the secret sauce. No, no, I think you know, I've just had a little limited exposure to these guys, right? Just over 2 months with spring training season. But I mean, my conversations, you know, with Holtby and Holmes and Clinic and all the pitching department in the off season, you know, that was part of the decision to come here, because I felt like those guys had a really good handle on what they were doing, and they just seemed like they had a really good process. And you know, to speak to being able to improve a whole lot of guys, I don't know that I'm the right person to speak to that, just because I haven't been around and seen, you know, some of the transformations you're probably talking about. But I can say, just compared to other staffs I've had in the past, I've been very fortunate to have a lot of really good pitching coaches and staffs that have really good holistic approaches to pitching. And in my mind, when you can mesh the analytics and then mesh it with execution and sequencing and understanding that there's human beings having to throw this baseball every time that are imperfect.
Yep.
When you can mesh that together, you can come up with a really, really good plan on how to get the best out of people.
That's a really good answer.
And I think that's what we do.
I know we need to let you go, Kyle, but I have to ask, because I think it was the moment of the season last Friday night. How long were you prepared to hold the water in your mouth after the McCann double? Were you at all nervous at some point that, like, you know, that Ben and Kevin were worried that you're just going to start choking at some point as you're trying to do that? How long were you prepared to hold it, if necessary, on Friday night in order to wait out that review?
Yeah, I mean, once you commit to something, you got to commit. You know, I'd be lying if I didn't get into a situation where I had to swallow just a little bit of it, because it starts creeping to the back of your throat, and you just got to clear it a little bit. But no, you got to. Once you commit to these things, you got to do it. So I don't know what Mac was thinking, really. I know he was waiting for the review to come through, and then I think the game sped up on him a little bit when he realized he was getting pinch ran for. So, but he came in the dugout, and he had to wear the splash on his shoes a little bit because he got a little bit too close to the smoke.
That's pretty.
Touche.
Is there any chance we're going to see you, like, on a day you're not pitching, try to wander out to the bird bath section now to hang out with everybody?
I mean, if they want somebody to turn on the sprinklers and soak some fans out there, we can do that.
I love that. I love everything about that. Kyle Gibson, at KGib44, and as he mentioned, make sure you're following him in order to take advantage of some of this autograph stuff he's going to be giving away. And please get over to bigleagueimpact.org/ALLWIN Baltimore and get your pledges in to support what it is these guys are doing. Kyle, really enjoyed the conversation, man. And really, more than that, enjoy the fact that you have made a commitment to this community since you arrived. That means everything, dude. Thank you so much for hopping on with us this morning, and best of luck, as it's been a lot of fun watching you guys this season.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Great chatting with you.
It's Kyle Gibson, Orioles pitcher, spending a few minutes with us here.
A solid season.
Yeah,
He's had one bad game.
Right, correct.
And one so-so game, but other than that, he's sort of bringing the club, I think, an even higher level of what we got out of Jordan Lyles last year.
I agree wholeheartedly. Now, you can't have he's not making the 9-inning starts where he's just getting his – what the Royals are doing with Jordan Lyles this year is hilarious, where they just don't care. Like, you can give up 15
last
runs.
Week was so bizarre how he took Greinke out after 44 pitches in a 1-0 game after 5 innings and let Jordan Lyles get pounded.
Well, he did it again this week. What were the numbers that you told me the other day, Griffin? It was like
he went 9 innings. He let up four runs. I'm not sure.
All right, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
I thought it was like 112, 115 pitches.
They just don't care. They don't care. Like, they are like, throw your arm off. That's the way that it's going to work. I
mean, they lost. It was a loss.
All right.
Hey, by the way, to clarify, Josh Charles is my nephew.
Yes.
And that other infielder was Scott Kingery.
I had forgotten all about Scott Kingery.
6-year contract the Phillies gave him. And he's not even on the big league club. I think he was up for about 5 or 8 days, about 10 days ago.
I'd still call it a risk worth taking with these guys. I still say it is worth the risk that maybe not every single one of them is going to pan out and be worth the money that you gave them.
I think we feel that Adley Rutschman has a pretty
more than
good
worth
chance.
the risk. Yes, more than worth the risk, as Kyle Gibson pointed out, the impact that he has behind the plate.
Hey, I got to go downtown to a ribbon cutting.
You've got a new format that you're doing for your show
on the Monday nights. Yeah,
yes.
We had a great talk, by the way. Gary Stein and I had a really interesting conversation with Kevin Rocklitz
Yep.
of the Ravens about the relationship with M&T, the move to SeatGeek, and just a whole bunch of other things about where the Orioles stand in where the Ravens stand in wanting to be part of this idea of renovating around the ballpark down there.
So that was last night.
That was last night.
But then every Monday night.
Yeah. Ross,
Luke Jackson.
Luke Jackson, and myself.
All good.
Luke Jackson's my nephew, right?
Yes, correct. I think he's your cousin, actually. I'm pretty sure.
Anyway,
you know what? For what it's worth, Josh, when you have as many cousins as Stan has, it's kind of hard to remember who is and who isn't.
Thanks for helping me
Right.
out. But they'll be on Mondays with us. Every once in a while, we're going to throw in an old Oriole, ex-Oriole. But mostly it's going to be more like a little bit of an Orioles pregame show.
Very good. Mondays at 6. This week will be a pregame to Shohei Ohtani, we think, in Baltimore.
Yeah, he's due to pitch on Tuesday.
Tuesday? I thought it was.
I thought
we had done the math for Monday. I thought.
By the way, next Thursday, John Martin, the director of Maryland Lottery and Gaming, sports gaming, will be with us.
And you'll be on with the boys tomorrow morning?
Yes, I will.
Very good. Power rankings on Monday as well at PressBoxOnline.com. At Stan the Fan on Twitter. Appreciate you as always coming in to hang out with us this morning.
Always a pleasure.
When we come back in, we're going to make our trip down to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox this week, Billy Cook, who's been hot here in May. We're going to get to know him and learn all about how things have started to turn for him this month. So that's next as we continue along here on a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around for PressBox. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zach Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bat Around has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bat Around.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Harford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Harford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The National Championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Thanks again to Stan the Fan for hanging out with us this morning here on GCR. Today's show is also brought to you by A.J. Michaels, expert and award-winning. A.J. Michaels, heating, plumbing, AC, home performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is here. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. By the way, I have officially declared in my life, short season is upon us. Now, if you don't know this about me, once I go, there's no going back.
And it's the same for the reverse. Once you go to
Once
pants.
I go to pants, there's no going back. Because I'm not the
Dangerous.
type, I don't check the weather the day before. Everybody's going to say, it's not that hard. You can just look. I just don't.
I'm different.
I accept who I am as a person. I know who I am. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses.
There's no problem with in February wearing shorts one day.
No.
Next day
I
sweats.
can't do that. There are two seasons. There are pants season and there are shorts season. And once we have officially moved to one, there is no going back. So when you guys a couple weeks ago were busting out the shorts, I was not. Today, for the first time ever, I'm showing off the gams. You want to check out Mr. Cavs over here? I encourage you to wander over to the office here at PressBox. Actually, I have to go pick up my kids today from school. First time I've ever actually picked up the kids from school, by the way. I don't know why that is.
You're very nervous?
Well, it's a private school, so we have there's rules to all of it, and I am so very nervous.
Don't you dare go down the wrong lane.
Griffin, I am so worried about going to the wrong part because there's multiple parking lots at the school. You got to go to one. It's a whole thing. I got a 20-minute detailed explanation this morning from my wife on the way out the door about how I'm supposed to do this today.
Step by step.
Also, the kids don't know that I'm picking them up.
Ooh.
So,
Well, they should be
are they going to be
excited,
looking for somebody else's car and panicked about it? I don't know how this is going to go. I'm worried about it. But if you want to see the Cavs show, if you want to check out, I got more Cavs than Cleveland right now. So
they are looking good.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
I've been working on them Cavs recently. So they are on display today because it is officially short season. There's no going back. I don't care when Griffin tells me next Tuesday night now when we're all going to go to the ballpark because Griffin screwed it up so much for trusting you. And when we're all going to go watch Shohei Ohtani on Tuesday night, I don't care if you say in the morning, by the way, it's going to be 50 degrees and raining tonight. It's my bad luck. I'm going to be in shorts.
You're
That's
just
the way
too
that
proud?
it goes. Once I go, I'm gone. The pants, I go burn them all until we get back to September.
You have to buy a new set of pants.
100%. That's
every
the way it
winter.
goes every year. There's short season, there's pants season. It is now officially short season. I have decreed. All right, it's time for us to make our weekly trip down to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox. Our next guest has really been on fire this month. He has really started to show you why it is the Orioles drafted him out of Pepperdine a couple years ago. He is Billy Cook, and he is with us now here on GCR. Billy, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to meet you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Yeah, Glenn. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited and ready to talk with you.
Man, tell me about, I know you've been through, I'm sure, what you were disappointed by production-wise, and I'm sure you're still saying, hey, I haven't accomplished anything yet. I got a long way to go. But this month, you have really turned it on. What has happened? What has clicked? Is it just patience? Can you define what's going on that here, once the calendar turned to May, all of a sudden, you're the hottest hitter on the planet?
Right. I think I do have an answer. Sometimes you're like, well, I just stuck with it, and sometimes you're like, yeah, I figured something out. Spring training, I had a little different approach and a little different stance that just let me simplify everything. And for some reason, don't ask me why, I went away from that early, in April. And so I was kind of tweaking a couple different things, and nothing was really clicking. And so the hitting coach and I just sat down and said, hey, how about we just go back to spring training and see what happens? And sure enough, that was, April was non-spring training Billy, and now the joke is spring training Billy's back for May.
May it forever be spring training Billy. Right?
Yes, that's the plan. It takes a hard lesson sometimes to learn that you just got to stick with what works.
Brother, I know a thing or two about my own stubbornness, and knowing that I do not fault you in any way for the fact that you had to learn a hard lesson in order to this process. Did anybody give you an I told you so? Have you dealt with somebody that you were working with in spring training? Have they come back to you and sort of given you the side eye, yeah, maybe you should have listened, Billy? Had you had to deal with any of that?
There hasn't been any side eyeing. There's been a lot of just why would you do that? So yeah, no one's given me a crazy hard time, but they've given me the hey, maybe you learned your lesson, and next time you start trying to change something, how about you just remember this?
Yeah, that seems I completely understand that, and I clearly, from this conversation, I can take that you agree at this point that you should listen. What is it about the stance? Can you define it? Can you draw us a picture in our minds of what changed and why it opened things up a little bit more for you?
Sure. Yeah. So like I said earlier, it's just a little it allows me to simplify everything. So I'm a little wider. I kind of have a little more weight on my back leg. And in my mind, I don't have to think about anything except picking my foot up just for a split second and putting it back down and letting my body kind of take care of everything else. So it gets me in a better spot to hit. I can see the ball better, less movement, and then I don't have to focus on as much timing. It's really just, look, see the ball, hit it. And in baseball, like, if you can do that, you're going to set yourself up better than if you're worried about, how high your leg kick is and when you're starting and all that extra stuff.
Do you trade off anything in terms of power? Like last year we saw you hit 15 home runs. Does it trade anything? Like, is it harder to generate power? And if it is it a trade that you're willing to make in order to have the production that you need and let the power come after that?
I don't think so, and that's just because I stay in my legs. That's where I get my power from. And in this stance, like a little wider, I'm in my legs, from the get-go, and so I think I use them actually more than if I had maybe a taller, little more narrow stance.
Okay.
And so far the power has not decreased, which is good. Now, if that starts to happen, maybe we do reevaluate something.
Yeah.
But contact's also important, so maybe I give up a little power down the road if that becomes an issue, but so far it hasn't.
He is Billy Cook of the Bowie Baysox. He is with us here on GCR. Billy, I imagine there's also, as a guy who's like, you weren't a first, 3-round pick or something like that. Nothing's certainty for a player that's in your shoes. Did you start to feel any amount of like pressure? Like, hey, I got to really, look around. This is an organization loaded with talent. Did you feel any amount of, I better remind them that like I'm a part of this thing too? Did you feel any element of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little of that every day, being surrounded by the talented group that we have, and especially in AA, that's where it kind of gets real, where it's all about development, but also like you got to keep putting up numbers at this level. So with that aspect, there is always that pressure, but also it's kind of just like, look, you know what you can do, and you can't put too much pressure on yourself, because that's when you'll start to press, I think.
Yeah.
And experiencing a longer season last year, it is a long season. I think I'd probably have maybe 100 at-bats and 500 more coming,
Yep.
So you can't get caught up in that short stretch. Every at-bat does matter, but you can't put too much pressure on one at-bat, because then that could affect your next, 20. So you just take it an at-bat at a time, and you just see what you can do step by step, and at the end of the day, you're hoping you're sitting pretty at the end.
The Baysox are away this week, and they're back home on Tuesday night to host Altoona. Events that are coming up next week include Military Appreciation Night on Tuesday, Woof Wednesday with your pup at the ballpark, and then also Happy Hour on Thursday next weekend. You got Kids Run the Bases. You got fireworks. So much going on. Go right now to Baysox.com in order to find out more and get your tickets to check out the Bowie Baysox. So here's the important question, Billy. Now that it's been clicking for a little while, baseball players are notoriously superstitious. Is there anything besides the stance that you've been doing of late that, like, whatever weird thing it is, if you've worn the same pair of underwear for a week, something like that, right? Like, is there anything else that's been going on recently that you found yourself having to keep doing because you've been getting the results of late that you've been wanting?
How about I give you two answers?
Yes.
The answer is yes, right? But you have your preparation. So we'll talk a little baseball specific.
Okay.
Like the cage work that I do, I've kept that consistent.
Yeah.
Found like a routine that works, the drills that work for me, and I'm not going away from those. I stick to it. It doesn't matter if it takes an extra 5 minutes to set something up. Like, stuck with that routine, and I'm going to continue to do that. So there's your baseball answer.
Yes.
Aside from that, I've started to play chess a lot.
Okay.
So I can't go play without playing a couple games of chess. And I just get one or two in either after a meeting or if we're on the road and it's a little more time pressed, maybe I'll do it on the bus on the way to the field.
Okay.
But yeah, finding something that you can, think a little bit, but it's not directly related to baseball,
Sure.
I think has helped me as well.
Keeps your mind sharp. I completely understand the
Yeah,
thought process.
exactly.
There. Are you playing online chess specifically, or do you ever try to play with any of the guys in the clubhouse?
No, online.
Okay.
I bought a board last year and I didn't even open it.
Really?
Everyone likes to play on their phones. It's easier, So yeah, I have not played an actual chess game on a board in a long time.
Do any of your teammates also play like against you online, or is it just anybody that you can find, somewhere in the world?
Mostly it's just anywhere in the world. And it's crazy. It literally is anywhere in the world.
Oh, I believe it.
I'm
Yeah.
playing people in Pakistan, China. It doesn't matter. And they have the little flag that tells you where they're at.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But there's a few guys on the team that play. So we'll just, play for fun. And my roommate, Colin Burns, him and I played a lot.
Okay.
And then there's a few guys in Aberdeen that I started playing with in spring training, and we have some games going as well.
Do you have I'm trying to compare this. The Ravens once upon a time, the Orioles did it with ping pong for a minute. The Ravens had like a cornhole league in the locker room at one point. Like legitimately kept standings. They had like an entire thing for it. Are you guys that play, do you keep track? Do you remember? Is there a ranking, anything like that when it comes to chess?
Yeah, so you just have a ranking, and if you play guys enough, it'll tell you like your record against them, since you started playing them. But the ranking is really what matters. And so, you got these people that are 2,000 rankings. None of us are even close to that.
Okay. Yeah.
So if we're like in the 900 ranking, that's like pretty good. And then, Colin is like 1100, 1200.
Oh, wow.
So he's like the top dog. Yeah. So if you can beat him, it's a great day.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head if anybody in the system came from an Ivy League school. There's nobody that I'm thinking of that came from an Ivy League school over the years. I
don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody like that, because that's when you really end up being in a dangerous situation. Is like the time that you find out that this kid that they just signed came from like Yale, and you're like, you know what? Maybe we don't invite you to the chess league. Maybe you have to find your own league to play in, because it's not fair to the rest of us if we included you that way. Billy, the way you mentioned the guys that you're around, when you arrived, when you were drafted, I imagine you already kind of had at least a little bit of a sense at that point. But seeing the way that it's come to fruition, this organization, all of the talent that you are around on a night-in, night-out basis, knowing what's going on at the major league level, I don't know how much you cared about the Orioles at all before you were drafted by them, but how exciting is it right now being a part of this thing on a day-in, day-out basis?
It's really exciting, and it's not where I look at the major league team and I see 25 guys that I have no idea who they are.
Right.
I've met half of them. Right after we were drafted, we had Instructs, and Gunner was there, and now he's up with the team, and Adley and all those younger guys. And it's kind of cool to see that, because you look around and you're surrounded by similar types of guys, and you never know who's going to be the next one. You get rehab guys coming through here. So you feel like you really are part of the major league team being in this system. You're not isolated just because you're part of the minor league, Bowie squad. It really is one giant organization that's good to be a part of.
Man, it's very exciting, obviously, for all of us here, right? Like, it is an extraordinarily exciting thing. Billy, social media-wise, is there – I think I saw Instagram. By the way, I know I saw Instagram because I meant to ask you. I saw something you posted where, like, there was only one picture in your entire camera roll that was unrelated to baseball.
Yeah.
Is it pretty much just, like, baseball and chess for you? Like, that's just kind of – that's what you do? That's what you're into?
Yeah, I mean, I'm into a lot of things, but I'm not a big pictures guy, and so I don't go around and take pictures and say, hey, would you take a picture of my buddy and I doing this? So my camera roll is pretty much any pictures that the photographers take and send to us, or videos of like my own swing that I'm looking at,
okay,
highlights, stuff like that. And then the occasional picture, like you probably saw, that someone else took of me, and then I just kept it, So that's kind of why I'm just not a big picture guy, honestly.
So what else are you into then besides baseball and chess? What else can we get to know about you?
I love movies.
Give me the last couple that you've watched. Give me like 3 movies that you've watched recently that you would put over.
Okay. Well, I just watched this poker movie called Mississippi Grind.
Okay.
Ryan Reynolds in it. It's kind of like a a low-key movie, but it's a good story.
I don't know anything about Mississippi Grind, you said?
Yeah, yep.
How is it possible there was a Ryan Reynolds movie that I don't know anything about? He's like one of the biggest movie stars on the face of the planet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was before he became like the Ryan Reynolds.
All right.
Probably like late 2000s.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Maybe just before he hit that big bump where everyone knew who he was. So that was the most recent movie I watched. I went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy in theaters.
My wife and I weren't able to go last week, and we're going tomorrow night, so don't ruin anything for me.
Okay, I won't. I won't.
I'm nervous about it. So maybe just should I be nervous? That's all I'm going to ask you. Should I be nervous at all about it?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Just go enjoy it, and you can get back to me on if I was right or not.
I will. You know what? I will follow. I swear to God, I will follow up with you about it. I will want somebody to talk to after I see it tomorrow night, so I will do that.
Yeah, dude, I want to know what you think about the whole direction of the Marvel, universe.
This is what's made me nervous going into tomorrow night. Is like I got to be honest with you. I was so disappointed by Ant-Man. Like it's crushing me because whenever people have said I think Marvel's fizzling out, I've been like, no, you're stupid. You're trying to compare everything to Endgame. Like, Endgame is its own planet. It's its own thing. You can't compare everything to Endgame. Sometimes it's okay for a movie to just be fun or a good time at the movie theater and not be the most brilliant cinema you've ever seen in your entire life. But, man, did I not care for the Ant-Man movie. I could not believe
Yeah, I'm with you.
It was just a sci-fi film. Like, there was nothing about it that was anything – I don't know. It really disappointed me. So that's why I'm a little bit more nervous this time around. Like, I was still defending even Love and Thunder. Like, I didn't think it was brilliant. I just thought it was fun. I was like, yeah, I mean, like, it's clunky. There's some things about it. But when people were panning it like it was the worst Marvel movie yet, I was like, wait a second. It was still a good time. Like, it was still an enjoyable film for the most part. What are we doing here? But, man, the Ant-Man one was just – bro, it was painful.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, and it's kind of confusing. Like, I don't know what to expect. There's no, like – I don't even know who the bad guy is.
That's a great point, by the way. That is a really good point about that. All right, you and I will talk. I promise you that. We will save your number. I will text you after I see it tomorrow night, and we will talk about it more. All right, one more before we go.
John Wick. That was the other one I saw in theaters.
I mean, come on.
Come on, man.
Right.
What a series.
You don't have to explain anything about why John Wick is. Somebody said, I think he kills too many people. I'm like, that's the point!
Yeah. I mean, so everyone, I went and saw it with a few buddies, and one of them fell asleep, and he hadn't seen any of them. And I was like, look, I can give you the whole backstory.
Yes.
Just be ready for, like, tons of action.
Yes.
And when I told him tons of action, he didn't believe me when I said, like, there's probably 30 to 40-minute fight scenes just nonstop.
Yep.
And he was like, dude, I was just too tired. Like, I couldn't stay asleep when they were fighting. And I said, that's why I love the movies, because it's just, if you want an action-packed movie, it's 2 hours, 40 minutes of just straight action. It looks pretty cool, too. It's not just like, unrealistic fighting. It's like hand-to-hand, gunfights, car chase, all this stuff.
Yep. All the other nonsense, take it. This is everything that I want in the film. The John Wick series is maybe the most perfect series for what it is that – maybe it's a dude thing, I don't know, but, like, this is what we want in a movie. Like, this is it, and you figured it out entirely. Billy Cook, the Instagram is Billy_Cook12, correct?
Yes.
All right, give him a follow there. I promise I'm going to be in touch. We're going to talk about Guardians after I see it tomorrow night. May Spring Training Billy be with us for the next 20 years, all right? Maybe we get nothing but Spring Training Billy. Congratulations on the hot stretch, man, and look forward to chatting to you again as you make the move through the system. Thanks for doing this.
Yep, thank you very much for having me, Glenn.
Billy Cook with us for our weekly visit to the Bowie Baysox. Appreciate him doing that. And, he has been tearing the cover off the ball here in May after a slow start, so we look forward to seeing what's next for him. All right, when we come back in, we need to try the Pop-Tarts, obviously. That's the final piece de resistance for the week. It will come back in. We'll try the Pop-Tarts. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get tubular to wrap it up for a Friday edition of GCR. Sound good?
Yeah.
Let's do it next.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holiday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR. A couple things quickly. One, it was confirmed this morning by Ramiro Restrepo. They are shipping off this weekend. Mage is, and again, from our conversation with them earlier in the week, we definitely, that's what they were working on. And I appreciate the fact that they said, hey, we just want to make sure that we don't get anything this week that is concerning to us when it comes to the horse. But this morning, they made it official, and they will leave tomorrow in order to get up here. So that's even better news for the folks with Preakness and the Jockey Club, because it means that the horse will be here all week, and there'll be more media attention paid because the horse will be here all week, and presumably the connections will start arriving, and Gustavo Delgado will travel up, and they'll probably try to have him go out and show up at an Orioles game. We talked about that. Like, they'll try to have him throw out a first pitch at the Orioles game or something like that. Those are the things that you try to do in order to get a little bit more celebration around the Preakness. It's a bummer that it won't be Forte, but great news. Mage is going to be headed to Baltimore tomorrow, and will be running in the Preakness officially. So that is good for our area. It's good for the Jockey Club. I actually don't think I'm going.
The Preakness?
It's a long story. It's a very long story.
How are you letting us all down?
I have missed very few in my life. Like, the year we got married, we missed it, but we don't miss many at all. We almost never miss the Preakness. It's the final week of lacrosse season for our kids, and my wife is caught up in team act. So my wife is now the active I want to
team mom.
Well, part of the team mom culture, and so she doesn't. There's a fear of missing out if she does not show, because we could have one of the grandparents take them to their game, but it's beyond that now for my wife. For my wife, it's now well, this is the last game. We got to get all the boys together and take pictures and maybe take them all out afterwards. Like, now it's an important thing for her in her social livelihood. So she doesn't want to miss it to go. Now, I could go by myself, but, like, I don't know. I would get bored after a little while if I don't have to work. Like, for years, I had real work to do. Like, I was working for the AP during the Preakness. This year, I don't have real work to do. So without real work to do, and I don't drink, after a little while, it's sort of like I would either just want to show up at 5, which you can't really do with the Preakness, in order to watch the one race. I just don't think I'm going to – and I would stay and probably watch Bruno Mars after that, but –
we got Bruno Mars.
Oh, and Sophie Tucker, who I love. I love Sophie Tucker. Purple hat, cheetah print, dancing on the people, rolled up after joint, dancing. But they're doing it differently this year, where they're having the concert after the race. Unlike in past years where, like, the concert was during the day in between all the various races, they're now doing the concert after the race, which is a weird bit. And I want to
hang out.
Yeah, but I had wanted to go see Smokey Robinson on Saturday night. He's down at the National Harbor. Now, of course, my wife is like, I don't care about Smokey Robinson at all. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I actually also had a friend.
Do it Glen Day.
We had friends invite us to a wedding, and, like, I never responded because I didn't know what was going on. And now I don't know how to, like, awkwardly be like, hey, that invite still. They're not like
it, right?
They're not close friends. They're like periphery friends, and so I'm kind of a jerk. Like, I'm kind of a jerk. No, I'm definitely kind of a jerk.
Oh, okay.
Although the invite came in very last minute. Like, we were clearly the people that got invited because somebody else said no, which is fine because, again, we're periphery friends. But I don't know how to, like, weasel my way back into that. Do I even want to go to a wedding if my wife can't go with me to that? So it sounds like I'm just going to end up doing team mom stuff all day next Saturday.
You could do it. Just do what Glenn wanted. You could do the wedding.
Yeah.
Then show up for Preakness right at 5.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to put it all together. And then you feel bad, like, because, like, she'll be like, you're not going to come to the kids' game. And, like, if I was going to Preakness, you know, like, by myself, that'd be fine. But do I really want to? It's a whole thing where, like, it's more. I keep making it like I'll deal with it when I get there, and then I realize I can't actually deal with it when you get there. Like, you can't decide on Friday, like, I'm going to go to Preakness for an hour. You have to prepare that a long time in advance. So
But you're Glenn Clark.
I know, but even Glenn Clark, it doesn't really work that way. Believe it or not.
Pimlico would.
Once upon a time, I did have that type of relationship with the people at Pimlico. Legitimately could have done that once upon a time. Once upon a time.
I got to land a helicopter in
they would have worked. They would make sure we had parking. They would have gone out of their way to hook up your boy. With the change in leadership and with the people making the decisions not being here year-round, they are not nearly as concerned about your pal GC. Not really all that worried about it. But they are worried about Mage, and they've got Mage, and so that's good news for them. Now, today's show, brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Sign up right now. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. That's the first step. Click on the DraftKings logo. Get up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus match plus a $50 free bet from DraftKings. But the only way to get it is by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. The NFL schedule was released yesterday, or last night, and in concert with that, teams like to do a bunch of different things. The best video of the day was probably the Titans video of them interviewing. Pull that up.
Okay.
Pull that up.
I just want to play it.
Well, part of it is like there's a visual element to it,
Yeah,
so like you'd have to.
The sound works pretty much.
The sound works, but then you've got to understand like what it is they're showing when you hear the music afterwards. If you have not seen, I think everybody's seen it, but if you haven't, we'll share that. The Jaguars did a really good one, but it really had nothing to do with the schedule. Did you see what the Jaguars did?
I did not see.
They did like a 10-minute, like kind of movie about how the NFL is scripted, and it's great. Like, they have someone who's the lead writer for the season, and the players are all like, wait, so we're not actually playing, we're just acting? Like, it's a whole – the Jaguars one is wonderful, but it has nothing to do with the schedule. It's just that, like, they do this 10-minute thing, and then at the end of it –
So he's telling Trevor what he needs to do.
Yeah, it's really great. Like, you really should watch the Jaguars thing. But, like, then at the end of it, it's just out of nowhere, oh, and here's the schedule. Like, it's nothing to do with the schedule release in any way. They could have released it a month ago, and it would have been just fine because it's really just a play on who started this with the NFL being rigged. Who was the running back? Arian Foster,
Aaron
who was on the Barstool show, and he was like, "Yeah, the NFL's rigged," and everybody like ran with it. So this was a great video that they did about it. The Chargers always do their anime thing. That's not for me,
Which is
but
great. Oh my god,
it's not for me,
it's
but people
amazing.
love it.
With the Ravens thing they did, it was like a
It
dark
was-
room,
and they did like a Ken Francis bit,
yes,
right?
Yes,
yeah,
they had Poe with his injured leg.
Right.
It was in the room, and they were like having Lamar sign the contract in this dark room, and then it was the spot for the agent to sign. It said Ken Francis.
Yeah, that was a good bit. That was a good bit. The Broncos apparently did like a Peyton Manning thing where he's on like The Office. I haven't even seen that one yet.
I mean, yeah, the Titans just
The
so
Titans,
obviously dominated.
To
so.
me, it's of the schedule related ones because the Jaguars thing is unbelievable. But of the schedule ones, the Titans are the winner. This is what the Titans did yesterday. Just basically, at some point in the last couple of months, went down to Broadway and showed non-football fans the logos for the various teams that were going to be on their schedule.
It's crazy too, because Glenn Clark does not like the little microphone.
Well, and there are a few times.
Well, yeah, it is.
Audio
It's tough.
Yes, that's because you don't. It's not hard. Just get a real microphone. Why are we so obsessed with the stupid little microphone? Anyway, here's what the Titans did.
What the is that?
This is again just random people on Broadway. They show them the
St.
logo.
Louis Rams.
That was the Saints. That was the Saints.
Lightning McQueen.
The Chargers. Yes.
Oh, that's just the football logo.
By the way, stop. Do you hear why it's a problem?
Boston
You know what? We
Bobcats.
can barely even play the video on the show because the audio stinks. You guys think you're so clever with these tiny lapel mics. They're awful. Awful. You are the Tennessee Titans. It is not hard to get a microphone. See it? See how much better it sounds? Then stop it. It's just because it's like the trendy thing to do now on TikTok. We all think we're supposed to do these stupid lapel mics. They stink. I don't even know what the last guy said. I can't even remember.
He said, "Oh, that's just the football logo. It was the Browns. It was the Browns."
All right,
yes.
go ahead because I think the Ravens are next. Or no, they're coming.
The Boston Bobcats. No idea.
That was the Bengals.
It was the Bengals.
Yes.
Cowboys. Yeah.
It's the Colts. The Cowboys.
Baltimore Orioles.
The Ravens. There
Is
you
that-
go.
you
Yeah,
wanna-
that's
we
fine.
can pull
That's
it
more
there.
than enough.
Yes. The
Audio-
Baltimore Orioles.
The audio stinks because you all think we're so trendy, we're so hip with our lapel microphones. No, they do nothing. All of the audio is always terrible. There's never been one of these, not one, that has come away with quality audio. We've just decided we don't care about that
Yeah, I guess
because
that's-
it's the cool thing to do, because it's what all the cool kids are doing with these
So we gotta
damn
change
lapel
it.
mics.
We have to change it.
Well, weren't
do a
didn't
good
we
one of
try
these.
to have Carson do a
Yeah.
man on the street thing?
Yeah, maybe we can revisit that this summer. Maybe?
He's gonna be
I don't
back,
know.
I think, next week. So
Okay.
we might have to have him. We might have to
some
go
O's
back to
games
that.
and-
No lapel mic. It's awful. All right. Anyway, so one of the things that happened yesterday, before the Chargers put out their anime thing, they did a bit during the day to lead up to the schedule announcement where they did all of their opponents as Pop-Tarts. The Chiefs were a green Pop-Tart with Kermit the Frog's face on the box, of course, because Patrick Mahomes sounds like Kermit the Frog. That's very good. Unlike the Cardinals, who are bad at everything, who did their opponents as songs.
Yeah, and it was.
And the Ravens one was
a running
back
by Wale.
Yes. Which, like, you're just going to get dunked on all day. You're the Cardinals. You would murder to have Lamar Jackson. It's not funny. It's just you're going to get trolled. Your own fans roll their eyes at it. Like, hey, dude, we have Kyler Murray. We would kill for Lamar Jackson. Maybe just shut up already. The Chargers mostly are pretty good at this, right? Where they understand how to have fun with
twice
it.
they did great yesterday.
You love the anime thing.
The anime
You love
thing's
it.
very good.
You're all in on that. The Ravens Pop-Tart was just a brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart slathered in Old Bay. That's all it was. And, of course, when I saw it, I thought to myself, well, I know what our next bet's going to be. Griffin said, why would we bet? I'll just eat one. And I said, I'd probably try it too. I'd probably try it. I've done a lot of things with Old Bay in my life. I famously once in college was getting into a fight with a girl that I knew about which one of us was more Baltimore. And she said, would you snort Old Bay right in front of me? And I said, yes, I will. Don't do that.
So you won. You were more Baltimore.
I mean, I think I did win the most Baltimore competition that night.
Good job. Well done.
Not proud. Not proud. Don't do it. Don't do it. Bad idea. That being said, this is pretty simple. All you're going to do is just sprinkle a ton of Old Bay. You've got everything you need, brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts and Old Bay. So you're just going to sprinkle a ton of Old Bay on the Pop-Tart, correct? That's all you're doing here. Are you going to eat the entire Pop-Tart? I'm not.
I mean, I guess we'll
I'm
see
not
how it
going
goes.
to eat the entire Pop-Tart.
At this point, I don't see why not at this moment.
Right. So how much is the appropriate? I'm trying to remember what the actual picture looked like. Hang on a second.
How's that?
I don't know. You got to tell me, man. You got to tell me. Oh wow, that is a lot of Old Bay.
That's probably good. I'll say this is
lot of Old Bay. Hang on a second. Oh, that's more than they had on theirs.
Oh, really?
That's fine. That's the way it should be. If we're going to commit to the bit, we should commit to the bit. All right, you got to take, before you pass it over, take more pictures of the two together, and then we'll get the video of us as we enjoy the Old Bay Pop-Tarts. And cheers to the Los Angeles Chargers for this clever idea. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. I just stopped caring.
Yeah, I know. Josh Allen
the
dipped
Bills
in
were
ranch.
dipped in ranch, right, for Josh Allen. They did just a deep dish pizza Pop-Tart for Chicago. They did
deep dish pizza Pop-Tart.
Denim Pop-Tarts for the Cowboys. That's not bad, actually. I kind of like that. The Broncos one. Oh my God. The Broncos one was a cream corn Pop-Tart because, of course, Russell Wilson is very corny.
That is
Everyone
good.
notes how corny. That is a great one. Detroit's was just a motor oil Pop-Tart because it's Detroit, the Motor City. Swiss cheese Pop-Tart for the Packers. That makes sense. The Kermit one. They did a filthy ashtray Pop-Tart for the Raiders. That's really great because they do. I don't care. They look about the same. Yeah, that's fine. What were the other ones? The Dolphins. The Dolphins were a fish and chips Pop-Tart because the fish, that's kind of what? I don't know. A raw meat Pop-Tart from Minnesota. Is Minnesota where they eat raw meat? I thought it was in Wisconsin that they ate raw meat. Is that a Minnesota thing?
Basically the same thing, right?
I don't know. I thought that was oh, that's good too, Mac. The Patriots one was an ice cream vanilla flavored Pop-Tart because Mac Jones is quite vanilla. That's really good. All right. Anyway, those are the Pop-Tarts.
because Vikings eat raw meat.
Oh, Vikings eat raw meat.
Which is actually not true, but
that in Wisconsin, that's a thing. They eat raw meat sandwiches. That's a thing in Wisconsin. Yes. Why? They call it like a cannibal sandwich. Hang on a second. I'm gonna pull that up. I swear to God, that's a thing. Cannibal sandwich is why the raw meat cannibal sandwich endures in Wisconsin is the first thing that comes up. All right, so it's pretty simple. It's just a brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart covered in Old Bay.
Ready for a lot of...
I feel like I'm going to want... There's a lot of Old Bay here. I feel like I'm going to want a water.
I feel like... Get your water.
I mean, maybe we just see. Maybe we try to man it up at first and go from there.
Do you just want... Okay.
Well, we drag this thing out. Let's do the Pop-Tart.
I can pass my water bottle over to you.
Well, I mean, I've got all those diseases, though. Yeah, we could do that. All right. Cheers. Here's to swimming with bow-legged women. And bottoms up.
It's Old Bay Pop-Tart. I like it.
I
like it a lot.
It's actually pretty good.
I like it a lot.
I mean, part of it is you start with a brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart, which alone, unless it's rock hard, unless you get the brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart that is just, solid, it's a delicious Pop-Tart. Now you're adding an Old Bay. And Old Bay, as we've learned, kind of pairs with everything. Like, we've seen the Old Bay chocolate was very popular. It creates a very palatable. It's a little bit too much, obviously.
Yeah, maybe.
I say a little. It's way too much. But a faint amount of Old Bay with a brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart actually feels like it would work. Like, if we did this again, maybe because you have the Pop-Tarts, you should test out what the appropriate amount of Old Bay is on the Pop-Tart in order to make it so that it really adds something. So that you
it becomes a dish?
Yes. Maybe that should be the next plan for you, and we should do like a cooking segment with you. But I will have another bite of this. That'll be it. No more. 2 bites for your boy.
I'll finish.
You're going to finish yours?
Yeah.
I ate half a Pop-Tart in 2 bites. It's not bad.
No, it's not.
It's not.
I mean, it's just Old Bay, and
part of this is we have a problem. Like, we really do.
What?
We really have to acknowledge
what problem?
The way that we feel about Old Bay. This is not typical human behavior.
I mean, anyone in the country should be able to take a bite out of this and be like, yeah, this is something.
It is. There's something there. But part of that is we just love Old Bay. That's who we are as people. It's in our blood. Like, we need it. We can't function without it. All right, I could use a little bit of water. There's a lot of. You know when you get to the point when you're eating crabs, and like you're out of beer, and you know you need a beer, but like it requires you getting up and cleaning off and doing the whole thing.
It's like I'm stuck. I'm almost
so
on
you're
this
like,
crab.
yeah, you're like I'm gonna push through, and you realize like I can't push through. I'm having that feeling a little bit right now.
Final bites.
That's the thing, man. Thank you, Chargers. Like, your attempt to troll ended up being nothing more than just giving us an idea, baby. Right. Sounded pretty good to us. Worked out pretty well. Griffin, you want the rest of mine? You can help yourself to the rest of mine.
Yeah, after the show.
All right, you'll enjoy that then. God, Griffin pounded that. He was all in. I really would like if you would test to figure out what the appropriate amount of Old Bay is on a Pop-Tart in order to make it something that adds to society, because that is not the appropriate amount. That is too much. Not to the point where you can't eat it, just too much. And I do think there is a level where Old Bay plus brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart equals joy, equals we have just now improved the experience of the brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart somehow. That is very good. All right, thank you, Chargers. Appreciate that. We enjoyed it a great deal. All right, winding down for the day and for the week here on GCR. Let's get a tidbit. What do you mean Sam says every day we stray further from God? No. Is he from here? He is. Sam. What we've done is brought us closer to God, I believe, here. I believe the Chargers are responsible for helping us take a step. You bring me closer to God. All right. Sorry, I don't think anybody else got my 9 Inch Nails reference. Anyway, the moral of the story is it's time for a tidbit. Tidbit of the day is brought to you today by the print issue of PressBox, which is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Any of those hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox, read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. That illustration of Jackson Holiday is on the cover. And inside, we celebrate the pipeline that still exists despite Gunnar and Adley and Grayson getting to Baltimore. There's still a lot coming. Featured inside this print issue of PressBox. And in concert with this print issue of PressBox, we are giving away a great prize. 4 tickets to all of the area's minor league baseball teams, plus an Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder, preloaded with $25 and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around. You must be 18 or older in order to enter. The sweepstakes ends June 14th. Sign up at PressBoxOnline.com/contests.
Before we forget, Nick Boyle trying out for the Steelers today.
Oh, I don't like that. Boy, how did you go from me being very happy? Like, I've never been more messed up by what you just did right there. I was so happy.
Nick Boyle getting a tryout today.
Because everyone knows Nick Boyle's my guy. Like that, I love Nick Boyle. We have common friends. Like,
well, it's really on him. How could he do this to us?
And then all of a sudden for you to turn that sentence and direct it, I was like, I've never had more of a, yeah? Because, like, now what do I do? How do I handle that? I love Nick Boyle. On a personal level, I love him. Nick Boyle, I think I told, was mad that I wouldn't take a picture with him.
Why wouldn't you take a picture with him?
Because it's like that line where I still have to, although I don't.
Oh, because you were media.
I would. It's a weird bit because I've taken lots of pictures of Tyus, but Tyus and I technically work together in those circumstances, right? Like, every week we take a picture, but that's for the website. That's for sharing it on social media. It's not for, like, a private thing. So Nick said to me, he's like, you and I don't have a picture together. And I was like, well, yeah, man, because, I do, if you play poorly, I still have to be able to criticize. There has to still be a line here somewhere. And he's like, and that's going to change if you take a picture with me?
He's got a good point.
And he does. He has a great point. And I don't know why that was, like, my line, where I was like, no, I can't, like, buddy pose or a picture with you. And now I feel bad about it. Like, I've thought about it ever since he said that to me. Like, what a jerk I am for not just taking a picture with Nick. He's a great guy.
And now he's getting you
him.
back.
Yeah,
so.
like, now he wants to he's still mad about the picture thing that he's going to go play for the Steelers. Son of a bitch. Well, I'm rooting for him is all I can say. And I will forever root for Nick because he's a good man.
Hopefully he's on the field a lot when we play the Steelers.
Right, for punting. Yes, for
yes.
punts. Exactly right. Hopefully he is snapping for 10 punts when the Ravens play the Steelers.
Where do I want to start? So the Suns did lose last night.
Thank you for the reminder. They didn't lose, Griffin. They got.
I thought season ended last night.
I thought the elimination game last year, where they lost by 100 or whatever to the Mavericks, was bad. This in the second quarter. You know what was great about last night is I was confident, able to go to bed. At 11:15, I said I can get ready for bed, and I thought, am I going to regret this? I was like, here's what I'll do: I'll take a shower, I'll kill a little bit of time, and then I'll look at the score again. And if we get to, like, late in the third and they're within 14, 15 points.
If they're within 25. Yeah.
No. They're within 14, 15.
We're not.
I'll stick it out. They were not close. I said, well, I mean, look, man, I've been a Suns fan for 17 years. I knew it was happening. It was a miracle they even won 2 games in this series, frankly. This, by the way, look, I'm trying to measure this the right way. We always joke about how the Nuggets are just going to lose in the playoffs because that's what they do. And part of it, Jokic, he didn't have to go up against Ayton last night. He was going up against Jock Landale, who then got into early foul trouble on top of it. They barely even had Jock Landale. God, what a sad scenario that was. But this is a different animal, man. Like, I'm not saying they will, but I am finally a believer that they have a chance. They have a chance to win a title. Also, like, who's going to stop them?
LeBron finds a way.
Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I do still think it's pushing it. Like, if he has to keep playing this many games in the playoffs. And it's not LeBron. Let's be fair about that. LeBron is not the reason why the Lakers are in this situation. I know you love LeBron, and I'm not trying to tell you not to. And, like,
when AD's playing well.
I have respect. I have great respect for LeBron. But we need to be fair about this because it's the same thing that we kind of ignore about some of the other reasons. LeBron is a factor. Anthony Davis is the difference. Kind of in the same way that, like, while we all say LeBron delivered Cleveland a title, like, let's be fair about that.
Who passed the ball to Kyrie?
Kyrie kind of delivered them a title.
Who passed the ball to him?
I understand. It's not like LeBron had nothing to do with it, but Kyrie kind of delivered them a title. And Anthony Davis is the reason why they're in the situation that they're in right now.
So, anyway, the 2 largest postseason halftime deficits in Suns franchise history have now occurred in the last 2 years. May 15th, a year ago. They trailed by 30 at halftime in a home elimination game against the Mavericks. And then, of course, last night they trailed by 30 at halftime in a home elimination game.
Thank you.
Just trailing to the Nuggets.
Appreciate that reminder.
It was the Nuggets' largest halftime lead.
Why did you
in
murder
playoffs.
my dog in front of me? Why don't you just do that while we're at it? What the hell is wrong with you? Hey, Glenn, I thought it'd be a fun segment to do. I'll punch your son in the face.
It's a tidbit.
What's wrong with you?
It's just an incredibly horrendous performance from the Suns.
Really? I didn't notice.
Denver's
Thank you for the reminder.
Their 81 first-half points are the most by a road team in postseason history.
Could you get on with it? It's 12:23. I got to go pick up the kids today.
Celtics and Sixers did force they will force a Game 7. It is going to be the 8th
that was pretty stunning, by the way.
I know,
that was really
Sixers collapse.
Just that's the type of thing that really makes you think they can't recover from that.
Yeah. Either way, it is the 76ers and the Celtics. Their 8th Game 7 will be on Sunday night. I guess, well, we don't know. I guess they haven't announced the times yet. But
they have not
Sunday.
because they got to figure out if Lakers-Warriors is going to 7 or not.
So most such
and which
Game
I
7
guess they're
meetings,
doing that because if there are 2 Game 7s, then Celtics-Sixers will probably be Sunday afternoon at 3:30, and the Lakers-Warriors game will probably be the 8:30 game or whatever on Sunday night. That's my guess.
They don't get the Mother's Day triple header, unfortunately.
No, there will not be a triple header. The Suns were like, yeah, we're good.
So anyway, they say 8th time most Game 7s ever between 2 teams. So I'll take the Celtics opening tip and Kevin Garnett points and rebounds.
What, are you doing the whole Uncut Gems bit?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that the whole? Yes. I'm pretty sure there are a few more layers to it.
I think it was just the 3 because he put 100 grand into
Oh,
it.
I thought there were a few more layers to it.
Opening tip is ridiculous.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Then he had Garnett doing, his thing, and then the Celtics straight up.
They don't know you, KG. I
KG,
know you.
let's do this.
I know you, KG. I know you, KG. They don't know you. They're not like us.
Me and you.
God,
it's a great movie.
It's a good movie that I'll never want to watch again in my life.
I love when, after he places the bet and he's got the guys locked up in the thing and he's watching the game and he's like, opening tip, there it is. That's the hardest one, guys.
Right.
We got it.
God. All right, go ahead.
The Heat, they take on the Knicks tonight in Game 6. The Heat have the best winning percentage all time in Game 6s as they look to close it out against the Knicks.
I'm stunned that it's not Klay Thompson. I'm stunned.
That Klay Thompson alone.
Yeah.
They are 14-7 in Game 7s with a 667. Of course, the Warriors, Pistons, and Lakers next best winning percentage in Game 6s.
I didn't even think about how do you measure what I said the other day about the fact that I think the Lakers should be favored to win the night versus I didn't even consider.
And it's still Game 6 Klay.
Right?
Yeah. Game 6 Klay finds a way.
But is Game 6 Klay specifically to elimination games?
Could be.
Is he good when he's trying to tie the series?
Somewhat came down to earth, I guess, and
I feel like he was always better in
because they did lose. They did lose Game 6 to the Kings, right? Because they forced.
Did lose Game 6 to the Kings, but that would have been a clinching game. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this.
Maybe is Game 6 Klay no more?
I don't know. We'll find out tonight.
I want to finish the second half of the tidbit yesterday. Jordan Diaz, of course, hitting 3 homers. I want to do the more modernized version now. My arbitrary cutoff will be since 2000. Let's see if you can name the top 10. Jordan Diaz was the 6th youngest player to ever hit 3 home runs in a game since 2000. Name the youngest guys.
Josh Hamilton.
Josh Hamilton,
no, he's
not that young.
He's probably not
that young
on
when
this
he did
list.
it.
Boy.
All these guys were 22 or younger.
22
I guess I'm not sure
younger.
that helps you, but
no, it
they are
certainly
good
doesn't.
players, though.
Since 2000, 3 home runs in a game. 22 or younger specifically since 2000. So it's not Andrew Jones because he was pre-2000. They were 22 or younger. My word. Vlad Jr.
Vlad Jr. is the 2nd youngest to do it since 2000. He was 22. I guess they're all exactly. They're all 22 years
Jesus
old.
Christ.
On April 27th, 2021, against the Nationals.
Don't
he had
like
3 home
my
runs.
chances
Vlad
of
Jr.,
this.
2nd youngest.
Jordan Alvarez.
Jordan Alvarez is the 3rd youngest.
Problem is, you gotta all I can do is come up with guys that I know came into baseball at a very young age. Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper is 5th on this list. Did it for the Nationals in 2015.
Manny Machado.
Manny Machado, not 3
I know
home
he had
runs.
2
when
home
he was,
runs.
not when he was super young.
But that's all I have to base it on is guys that I know were playing at that point. Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts is outside of the top 10 here. Yeah, he was 23. He was very old, 23 years old. Did it against the Orioles in 2016.
Actually, in 2016, they were good, so that's not...
Yeah. Jordan Alvarez actually did it against the Orioles, too. Was that the game? We didn't win that game, did we?
I have no idea.
Was
You're
that like
asking
the Rio
the wrong
Ruiz
person.
walk-off?
I have no idea.
They must have lost the game. Jordan hit 3.
All right.
Oh, my God. I completely forgot that. Yeah, never mind. We don't even need to talk about the score of this game.
Okay. What was it?
It was 23-2.
Oh, yes.
The Astros in 2019.
Well, it wasn't 30, which we know
it wasn't 30.
Has happened. 30-3. If it's not 30-3, it's almost like it doesn't matter. All right, you're gonna have to give me.
All right, let's see. He was a Los Angeles Dodger. In 2016, he hit 3 home runs. One of their infielders.
2016. Muncy?
Not Muncy.
Wasn't that young?
No.
2016 Dodgers infielder. 2016 Dodgers infielder.
Left hand. He's no longer on the Dodgers. He is a Texas Ranger now. Shortstop.
Oh.
Is he? Yeah, he's shortstop.
Bellinger?
Not Bellinger.
No. Oh, I know. God, what am I?
I
was not Cody Bellinger. It's yes. I know exact. That's the thing. It's the brother. I know who it is that you're time. Why is it that all of a sudden my brain is not Seager? Jesus.
Seager. First
God.
name?
Corey.
Corey Seager.
Jesus.
Yes. 2016 with the Dodgers, hit 3 home runs at the young age of 22 and 37 days. There is an Oriole on this list who at 22 years old hit 3 home runs in 2006.
Markakis?
Nick Markakis against the Minnesota Twins.
I don't remember.
Hit 3 home runs on August 22nd.
Oh, I had moved. Okay.
So you were an Orioles fan at this time? Wow.
No. It's just that I wasn't watching. No, I hadn't. I didn't move till September. Take that back.
So you were probably at this game.
I probably would have been at that game, honestly. I don't know. I don't remember Nick Markakis hitting 3 home runs. I remember a lot about Nick Markakis' rookie season because it was the first year I was spending every day around the team, and then I moved to Arizona in September.
A San Diego Padre did this in 2021.
Tatis?
Fernando Tatis hit 3 home runs in June 2021 at 22 years old. 4th youngest since 2000 to do that.
All right.
There are 2 Pirates and a Tampa Bay Ray.
2 Pirates and a Tampa Bay Ray.
One of the Pirates did it in 2001.
Oh, God. Jason Bay.
Not Jason Bay.
Brian Giles.
Went over to the Milwaukee Brewers, I believe, after this. After his stint here.
Went over to the Milwaukee Brewers.
I actually went to the Cubs first. Finished his career with Milwaukee.
Derek Lee?
Not Derek Lee.
All right, who was it?
Erasmus Ramirez.
Oh, okay. All right.
In 2001, hit 3 home runs for the Pittsburgh.
Aramis Ramirez.
Same thing.
No, they're very different. Aramis Ramirez. Yes.
Aramis Ramirez. And then another Pirate.
When?
2009.
We were just talking about how they were so bad earlier in 2009.
Well, this is the guy that was good.
I don't know.
He's still on the team now. Came back.
Oh, McCutcheon.
Andrew McCutcheon,
Okay.
3 home runs, 22 years old against the Nats.
All
And then 10th on this list, Tampa Bay Ray. He is still playing baseball.
Longoria.
It is. Evan
Okay.
Longoria hit 3 home
All right.
runs for the Rays, also against the Twins.
Very good. Very good.
Nationals and Twins both letting up 3 home runs.
Yeah, the losers. Yeah, we only did it once, right? Yeah, ha ha ha. You bet you feel stupid now. Way better. Way better. All right, tubular. It's 12:31. How do we do this again? Tubular.
Pop-Tarts.
It was the Pop-Tarts. Blame them. Tubular is brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Here is what's coming up. Orioles Pirates this weekend. For some reason, Masson 2. The Mets are playing the Nationals. Is that what's going on? Yeah, I guess that's the reason. Masson 2 this weekend. Pirates Orioles 7 o'clock tonight and tomorrow. Of course, Sunday at 1:30. Tonight it's Johan Oviedo against Kyle Bradish. Tomorrow, Ronzi Contreras against Tyler Wells. And Sunday, Mitch Keller and the aforementioned Kyle Gibson is the pitching matchup on Sunday. NCAA Women's Lacrosse Tournament gets underway today. Hopkins is at UMass at 2. Fairfield is at Loyola at 3. Maryland they don't host Drexel. They play Drexel on a neutral site at 5 o'clock. And all those games are on ESPN+. If those teams win those games, they'll play again on Sunday, but we won't know. So, we'll deal with that then. Tonight, Knicks Heat Game 6, 7:30, and Warriors Lakers Game 6 at 10 on ESPN. TNT for Panthers Maple Leafs Game 5 at 7. Oilers Golden Knights Game 5 at 10. Tomorrow, NCAA Men's Lacrosse Tournament, Army and Maryland, 7:30 on ESPNU. Tomorrow night, Stars Kraken Game 6 at 7 o'clock. No NBA tomorrow. On Sunday, Bryant, Johns Hopkins, noon, ESPNU. Also, we will have at least one Game 7 in the NBA, but we won't know about it, as Griffin mentioned, until we know about it. But I'll update Tubular for the 3 of you that check. That's the commitment that I have to you as a pal.
It might be 4 or 5.
Maybe. I doubt it. But
6 or
I
7.
think a lot more people check originally. I don't know that people check
Come
for
back
an
Sunday.
updated Tubular. I think it's very, very few that come back for that. Anything non-sports wise?
There's a couple shows that look like duds to me. I can tell you
Then
that.
let's not. It's 12:30.
Dear Mama, the series finale on FX.
Okay.
That with Tupac.
Yep.
That one. The Mother movie premiere on Netflix. This is Jennifer Lopez. She's an assassin trying to get her kid back.
I'm familiar with this.
And Edie Falco is like the FBI person or something that she's going against.
Maybe I'm not familiar.
At
Maybe
least I
something
thought it
else
was
that
Edie
I saw.
Falco.
I think
in the
okay.
trailer it looked like Edie Falco.
All right.
I could have been wrong.
All right.
But yeah, Jennifer Lopez doing some action.
Let's move.
Other things,
Barry.
not really highlights. Yeah, new episode of Bear. There's a Michael J. Fox movie he's doing. He's like talking about his, dealing with Parkinson's.
Okay.
Yes. It Ain't Over documentary is only in theaters, but it's a Yogi Berra.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
It's a weird role because it's only this weekend. It's only available in theaters in New York, Jersey, Connecticut, and California.
Huh.
And won't come to Maryland until the middle of June.
I mean, I don't know that there's a huge demand for it. I think
guess
that's like the places where they're going makes sense. That's where the biggest demand would be for the Yogi Berra documentary.
The Cube season 2 premiere on
Dwayne
TBS
Wade, yeah.
with Dwayne Wade. Succession, Barry,
Mm-hmm.
Fear of the Walking Dead season 8 on AMC, and Yellow Jackets, of course. So
I haven't watched Yellow Jackets at all.
neither
Should
have
I?
I heard it is very.
I know
fascinating.
everybody raves about it.
So
All right,
I mean,
maybe it'll be on
Lord
my
of the
list.
Flies, but
It'll-
with a soccer team.
It'll be on my list. All right, very good. Thanks today to Stan the Fan. Thanks also to Kyle Gibson. Thanks to Billy
Nick
Cook.
Vespi got recalled.
Oh, he's taking Drew
Drew
Rahm's
Rahm's,
roster spot. Thanks to Billy Cook from the Bowie Baysox. Thanks to Neil Walker. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. The Bat Around tomorrow morning, 10 to noon, with Paul and Zach. Rita and I are doing our very special Mother's Day show on Sunday from 1 to 4. I don't know if we're supposed to. Well, this will be Lacey DaCosta will join us. She's like the mom of Ravens Twitter and a mom herself. Cedric Mullins' mom is going to join us. I'm pretty excited about that. We're waiting to hear from a couple of other moms that we have reached out to this week as we try to celebrate.
Want my mom to call in?
I like your mom. I don't know that she's going to quite make the cut. Not because of her.
Well, I haven't told her it yet, so I guess
because of her son.
What?
For Sunday.
Wait,
I think that we're
what?
aiming a little bit higher for the mom. Tyus's mom is going to join us on Sunday as well, so I'm excited about that. That's 1 to 4 on 105.7 The Fan as we celebrate Baltimore sports moms. And then Monday, Stuff and Things. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partner. I just kind of choked a little bit on a lingering piece of Old Bay.
Oh, I love saving Old Bay for later.
I hear you. Like in your teeth, you're like, it's not so bad. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners. AJ Michaels, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Hartford Community College. Don't forget, championship weekend this weekend at Hartford Community College as the Owls try to win the title. Also, Birdland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Have a great weekend. Go Birds. Go Maryland and Hopkins lacrosse. Go Maryland, Hopkins, and Loyola women's lacrosse. Duke sucks.